The bar is full of people. Loud conversations were interrupted by the creaking of doors. The visitors were surprised that the scoundrel Joseph came to see them. He spent all his fortune just to get a beautiful wife. Joseph was so obsessed with her that there were rumors that he did not let her leave the house at all. The man's wife was truly a beautiful lady. Some of the people in the establishment heard that Joseph had fallen in love with another woman and was tired of his wife. While drinking alcohol, Joseph shouted loudly that he wanted to throw his insensitive wife somewhere. The man had only one desire: to sell his wife as quickly as possible. When Joseph married, he viewed his wife as his property. He paid her as he paid taxes on other things. Moreover, divorce is a costly matter. So, if you are not an aristocrat, or if you are not from the imperial family, then divorce proceedings can only be a dream. Therefore, selling your wife is an opportunity to get rid of your spouse without a divorce. In fact, once the contract is signed and the agreed amount is received, the ownership of the wife passes to the buyer. Footsteps beat a rhythm on the floor like drums. Joseph walked confidently, holding his new passion by the waist. Once in a prominent position, the man cleared his throat and said that he was starting bidding for his wife. The husband set an initial price of 10 rians, which is equal to about 2 loaves of bread. Each of those present raised and raised the rate. The woman stood sadly, watching the whole process. Grown men, without thinking about any moral standards, calmly offered a price per person. The only sounds that could be heard from everywhere were screams. After some time, the stranger set a price of 300 rian. Joseph congratulated the man and said that even though he knew nothing about his wife, he would guarantee that the woman was obedient. A lady in a red dress approached the bar and asked for the most expensive alcohol. Joseph explained that if the girl did not obey, she could be beaten. The man added that if everything is explained well a couple of times, she will listen better. If you don't like a face, you just don't need to look, because it's just a face. The plump customer agreed to all the points and handed Joseph a bag of money. Suddenly, a loud announcement was heard from the crowd: 5,000 rian. Everyone around was shocked, not to mention the buyer himself. The chubby red-haired man asked the stranger not to lie, because in this place there are no people with such big money. Black shoes with gold soles clattered loudly on the wooden floor. The man was rapidly approaching the scene of action. He threw a gold bar on the table and said that this was worth more than 5,000. The buyer was shocked by this presentation. Joseph smiled slyly and said that my lord had appeared so unexpectedly and surprised everyone with his loud voice. He was about to reach for the ingot, but the man in the cloak slapped his hands and said that the deal was not yet completed. The stranger handed Joseph a document with an agreement and said that he needed to sign it. The seller quickly agreed, eager to pick up the precious bar as quickly as possible. The signature was quickly added, and the woman turned out to be the property of the rich man. The girl was clearly in a bad mood and silently stepped foot with a man which is probably was relative rich man to exit. On their way out, they made their way through the trees and approached the carriage. He confidently extended his hands to her face and asked her to stand still so he could remove the rope from her neck. Further mysterious man took off his hood and introduced himself as Ash Brinicle. The girl looked into his eyes gloomily and incredulously, but still extended her hand, introducing herself in response as Khloe. They got into the carriage and went to Marquee's estate Brinicle. Unfamiliar ceiling and unfamiliar room. She remembers how they got to this place, but doesn't remember when she fell asleep. She assumes she fainted. Suddenly, a red-haired girl entered her room, which most likely was maid, and introducing myself. She's Betsy asked, "Let her help get ready, girl." From now on, she will serve her mistress until something happens special. She will always be by her side. If you need something, the girl can always pull the string who is in this room and another maid will come to her. The maid said that the girl returned late yesterday, and therefore she could not help her with washing. She invited her to go to the bathroom now, but the girl was mysteriously silent. When they went to the restroom, the maid was shocked to see many bruises and scars on the girl's body. Although it seemed compared to bruises, there are almost no scars. Time will pass, the bruises will disappear. But by the scars, even after many years, it will be possible to understand what happened. Perhaps the reason is that they beat him on purpose so that they would remain only bruises. I can't believe it's possible beat like that another man. Everything is so careful, calculate, and hit. The maid invited the girl to swim. She was sure that it would be so tired it will pass quickly. The poor girl froze and plunged into her memories, where she was scolded for going to the neighbor's house. slandered, saying that she came to the neighbor to seduce him and looked like it was easily accessible. But it turned out that her needle, which she needed for work, simply broke, and she came to her aunt to borrow her. She was told that she was making excuses and knew what was wrong with her watch other men, and forced to beg for forgiveness by beating. The maid interrupted her memories, speaking that if she continues to stand like this, then might freeze, so she said to go faster bathroom. Afterwards, the maid Betsy came to Eshu and said that last night Madam slept very well, but because of the knock on the door, she was very scared and it became clear that something was bothering her. She said that after they went to the bathroom, there were a lot of bruises on her body. The most unusual that scars there was almost no, and in the bathroom, Madam Khloe fainted. I was very surprised, asking how she fainted, and the maid Bestie replied that the doctor came and examined the Lady Khloe, and now she fell asleep again. Such drastic changes in the environment can, of course, be shocking, but perhaps there are other reasons. The bruises on her body were left by the bastard who sold her. Most likely, he has something to do with her scared her so much that she is afraid of the bathroom. Intoxicated from the undeserved wealth that fell into his hands, he treated her extremely recklessly. Ash asked if she was sleeping now and replied that he needed to go to her. As long as he doesn't mess with that bastard, Khloe needs to figure this out on her own. She's too skinny boring to start with food and think over the menu. Ash woke me up, Khloe saying that she needs to eat. Of course he understands that she is a beauty, but even so you shouldn't sleep too long. He said her hair was stuck to her face, and asked if he could remove them. She missed it, but he said that it's not so difficult to answer. She can either agree or say that she doesn't want to. It's hers choice. Her thoughts. Her will. He will respect any of her decisions. She was surprised by this action, Esha, since it was unusual for her, and she agreed. Plunging into thoughts, she thought that these words seemed to mean that she is in complete control of her body. When she came down to eat, Ash complimented her hair and told Mrs. I ate more. In her thoughts, she thought that he was a strange person. And she thought about, what does Marquess have? Some kind, the reason he bought it. Ash sat next to her, advising her try dip the bread in the soup. This must be really delicious. Lost in thought again, Khloe. I thought that everything was somehow strange. Why? This place is not scary, and that's why Joseph definitely won't be able to come here. She's at the Marquess's estate, and Joseph's status is low. Without noticing, she accidentally dropped her fork, starting to experience wild fear and saying to herself that she had made a mistake. Ash asked, did she drop her fork, and grinned and said that she did too. Sometimes he drops. After these words, he dropped his spoon and knife. Like this, it's hard to call it a mistake the third time. However, if there is no strength, do you feel weakness, then this is normal. There's no need to apologize for something like this. This happens to him too. Ash asked the maid Alicia bring new devices both for him and for Khloe. He looked at Khloe and said that Alicia, this is the main maid, and if there are some servants which she doesn't like, then she can say it Alicia, and she in turn will do everything. Alicia introduced herself Khloe and said that she was pleased to meet her, calling her Madam. Khloe, I was very surprised that she was called that. Ash answered Khloe that she can introduce herself later. She must have breakfast first. What if she's full and her stomach hurts? Then she doesn't need to eat against her will. She has freedom of choice. The man said that in law Khloe became his wife. He bought her and the contract has legal force. More precisely, according to the law, she is with her ex-husband, did not register the marriage, and in the certificate she is unmarried. But since it is unknown what this person can do, they better figure it out right away in this situation. In the current circumstances, even if Khloe against to be his wife, he unfortunately cannot change anything. Now she, wife of the Marquess Brinicle. Because Khloe married him, she became an aristocrat. It was not her choice to become his wife, so he will make sure that she can decide what she wants to do in the future. There are two options. The first is if she doesn't want to do nothing, then he will do this. She may not come out into secular society and not fulfill duties of a wife. She is already his wife, so she can get good clothes, entourage, and servants. Khloe. I asked about the second option and the man thanked her for asking and was glad that she was still interested. The second option is a difficult road. You need to study everything that the Marquess's wife should know, so as not to overdo it, will be assigned teachers in various fields. She won't spend all the time in the house, will have to go to social events and balls, meet different people. However, not everyone will be good-natured. There may be people who want to use her or humiliate her because of her low birth. Also, studying will be difficult, and problems will arise that she will not want to solve, but she will have to. This is the case. Ash asked what she would choose, and Khloe replied that she wants to choose the first and second options. She has no idea what this person is thinking about and does not know the reason for his kindness. But since she married him, she wants to take responsibility. She doesn't want him to worry about things that she's not interested in. She wants to choose something between these two options. So, his wife turned out to be much more greedy than he expected, but this is a good position. Since she is the Marquess's wife, she can enjoy this. Ash said that first of all, teachers need to be invited, but if she suddenly realizes that it is difficult for her, or there is a teacher with whom she does not want to study, this can be corrected. Khloe agreed, silently finishing her food, while Ash looked at her with a smile. Due to abuse and malnutrition, Khloe was bedridden for several days, and only after some time did everything completely fall into place. Betsy came to Khloe saying that the Marquis said that he needed to leave early today, but before that he left gifts for her. Madame Khloe no longer speaks in a respectful tone. She seems to be feeling better. When Khloe talked to Betsy like that, she was very scared. Betsy's favorite thing is the process of unwrapping gifts. It is so exciting. A beautiful and soft bear. Maybe Khloe will try to hug him. Khloe began to feel a pleasant feeling. If she pressed him tightly to herself, it seemed as if she was being hugged by someone warm and soft. Such a big bear has a very cute face. She likes it. This bear looks like the one her parents gave her as a child. The ribbon is also attached to the neck, and even the left corner of the mouth compared to the right is slightly turned up. Khloe checked for something else that might match, but it wasn't on the teddy bear. She wondered if it could be the same toy. The place behind the teddy bear's ear. Unbeknownst to the adults, she used it to exchange notes with a girl who was staying at their house for a short time, a secret place that they found together. The hem of their skirts fluttered as they ran back and forth, and they looked for ribbons that matched each other. It was the happiest time when they played together. Then she didn't suspect anything. He just looked like that teddy bear. But it's enough for her that thanks to him she can remember that happy short time. They said it was a special order, so Betsy was wondering if there would be a huge diamond attached to it. Fortunately, the gentleman is very insightful, and Madame Khloe liked the gift. Betsy asked if Madame Khloe could see that back room. Khloe can visit any apartment except this one. No one can enter there except the master. This is a strict order. Betsy is responsible for cleaning that room, but she thinks there is no need to talk about it, since the madam may ask what is in it. The girl who recently became a madam cannot enter one room in the estate. Khloe noticed that Betsy was very tense, which meant that the Marquis gave a very strict order. The estate is so luxurious, and at least everything you need. They provide it, but there is a room that you should never enter. It took a whole day to examine the inside of the mansion and find out what was where. Khloe was told that there was a forest and a lake outside, but the estate was so large that even if you took a carriage, the journey would take more than an hour. Khloe hasn't walked this much for a long time. Having gained freedom, everything feels completely different. She was in such a good mood. She seemed to like the gift. While Khloe was in thought, the Marquis suddenly came to her and said that he was glad that she liked the gift. She thanked him, but he made it clear that these were trifles and said that if she needed anything, she could just say it. There are people who had unhappy childhoods and vice versa. It looks like Khloe was happy at the time. She replied that she really was happy. If you remember her childhood years, it seems that she was the happiest child when she had the same bear cub. She asked the Marquis whether his parents gave him this teddy bear, but he answered that no, since he was a man and had never been given such toys. The Marquis asked Khloe if she liked the house. She replied that it was very stylish and majestic. He was glad, although initially it was beautiful here, but the interior changes with fashion. Next came the question of when it would be convenient for Khloe to receive teachers. She answered that starting tomorrow. Then the Marquis will send invitations right away. He suggested that she draw up a schedule together so that Khloe does not overdo it. And if she suddenly doesn't like some teacher, then she can immediately tell the Marquis about it and he will find another one. Khloe shyly asked to call only female teachers first. Ash asked why that was, and she replied that she was scared. And then she immediately plunged into her memories, thinking about how they told her not to judge by what she herself thought, if she made a mountain out of a molehill, or accused him of inappropriate behavior. Ash interrupted her thoughts and said that in this case, he would invite female teachers first. Fortunately, she looks good, although he and other male servants live there. Khloe said that if it was him, then everything is fine, and everything is fine if he controls the men who work in this house. She wonders where she got her faith. Everything is fine even without explanations. The main thing is that Khloe feels well. In addition, it would be great if Khloe remembered that all women, like men, have different characters. There are both bad people and good ones. Ash will be glad if she remembers this. Khloe thought, in that case, what kind of Marquee is he? A person who is trustworthy? The next day, the teachers arrived and a dark-haired girl immediately came in to see Khloe. She introduced herself as Elowyn Hasvid and said that since etiquette and manners are very important, if Khloe had questions during the training process, then she should definitely ask. Then the next one came in, introducing herself as Melissa Ayton. She was very happy to become Khloe's teacher. Books play a huge role in our lives and evoke strong emotions. She would like to share these feelings with Khloe. Then Kasorin Labirin came. She told Khloe that even though her father was only a viscount, she would like to become not only a teacher for her, but also a friend. On the first day, all the teachers just introduced themselves and left. The Marquee thinks through everything down to the smallest detail. Betsy told Khloe that Hasvid is a famous countess, Ayton and Labiron. Although viscountess are very famous figures in their political circles, of course, Marquise Brinkle has nothing to regret. Betsy approached her saying that when she was ready to go out into secular society, the teachers could become her support. 3 years have passed since Khloe stopped communicating with people. Her parents were successful in business, representatives of the middle class, not aristocrats, but they lived quite comfortably, and Khloe thought that this freedom would last forever. Until her parents died as a result of a bandit attack. Betsy asked Khloe to see that the Marquis had a lot of new things for her. He decided that what had been prepared earlier was not enough, and also provided amazing shoes and accessories. Betsy offered her help in dressing and asked her to choose one of the dresses. Khloe's choice fell on a yellow dress. Betsy said that Madame Khloe had such fair skin that whatever she wore would be very suitable. Any color will suit her. This dress really fits very well. Marquess has a really good eye. It seems that Madame Khloe Priestley removes attention from her appearance. Yes, the gentleman has a sense of style. Although initially she was very beautiful, but now she has become even more beautiful. That's right, everyone was smiling that day too. Her parents and Khloe, before her mother died, she put on the yellow dress she chose for the last time. That was then. Ash had a lot of things to do, so he didn't come home all night. Although Khloe doesn't know the details, apparently he will always be busy. When the Marquise had no important business to attend to, he always came several times a day, even if only for a short time. Therefore, at some point these visits became habitual for Khloe. For Khloe, men were incomprehensible creatures. At that time, she did not even suspect that she was being used, but now that she had become free, she immediately realized how easily Khloe could be controlled. After the death of her parents, a neighboring couple who came to repay their debts reported that Khloe's parents had failed in business and had lost everything. And this meant that she would have to live in an orphanage, take care of other children. While Khloe was suffering, doing hard physical work, that couple never visited her. Somehow, by chance, she saw them from afar, and they looked much richer than before. Moreover, the director told how men would treat her outside the orphanage. Khloe was told to be glad that the director was a woman. If it were a man, she wouldn't think it was enough. As a result, Khloe, gripped by fear, went beyond the walls of the shelter less and less. Instead, the girl washed the clothes of a large number of children, did all the hard work in the orphanage. She never received words of gratitude during all that time. When Khloe asked about compensation, they only answered that her upkeep and space were expensive, so they didn't pay anything. The contract that the girl entered into for 10 years prohibited her from leaving the orphanage far. In addition, Khloe was required to wear achromatic clothing and was not allowed to wear jewelry. The headmistress was worried because Khloe was very beautiful and said that she shouldn't attract male gazes. And so the headmistress dressed up more and more extravagantly, like a peacock. Dressing better and better, she specifically called Khloe and took great pleasure when she quietly compared herself to the girl. The worst thing happened when the child Mrs. Khloe was caring for fell ill. There was no money left in the orphanage. This prompted the director to give the girl to a sponsor. Khloe could only pray to save the child. That's how she married Joseph, who is 15 years older than her. The more often the girl looked into the past, the more she understood what caused this result. So ignorant, knowing nothing, made a stupid choice. Khloe's thoughts were interrupted by Ash, who asked what she was thinking about so much, bowing her head. She slowly said that she hadn't thought about anything. Ash told her that she was wearing a purple dress today. It matched her fair skin and violet eyes so well. Ash smiled, saying that this was not said to receive words of gratitude, and asked if she liked the clothes he chose. Betsy told him that she especially liked the yellow dress. Khloe replied that she did, and Ash told her that next time it would be nice to visit the dress store in person. You don't have to buy anything, but just look around and find out how much Khloe likes it, after which it would be nice to invite a designer and take measurements. Ash said that he was not forcing her. Everything would be as she wanted. She asked if she could do that, and Ash, smiling, replied that of course, because she was his precious wife. Some wives of aristocrats can spend the entire budget allocated to them on dresses and all sorts of trinkets. In any case, if Khloe wants, she can do the same. Khloe asked him why he bought it. This question kept spinning in her head, but whatever the answer, she was afraid to hear it. She can't understand why she's scared. At this point, teacher Elowyn Hasvid addressed Khloe, calling her Marquess and telling her that being a taciturn speaker was not a fault, but it would be great if she spoke her mind more often. Other times, silence can lead to misunderstandings. She asked if this was Khloe's first time learning etiquette, and Marquess Khloe replied that it was. The teacher replied that next time they would look at more difficult tasks, she thought Khloe should be able to handle it. Since these textbooks are aimed at a lower level of knowledge, next time she will bring others. Even though Khloe had to learn all this as a child, but it turns out that there is still a lot she doesn't know. Next, history and basic education teacher Melissa Ayton asked who taught Khloe writing. Recently, among young aristocrats, there are a lot of those who do not know how to write in Harriet's style, but Khloe Mastersky copes with it. In spoken imperial language, only one style is used, but in writing there are two possible: simple, Aaron, and complex, Harrio. Khloe's parents were very interested in her education. The teacher said they were wonderful people, and continuing, she answered that if any difficulties suddenly arise during the lesson, then Khloe should immediately tell her about it. She's not very good at recognizing other people's emotions. She asked if Khloe liked reading books, and she replied that I seemed to like it as a child. Melissa replied that maybe she could fall in love with it again, because even after years, the books still wouldn't disappear. And Khloe's husband has a gorgeous library. The Marquess of Brinicle is famous for his huge collection of precious books. Khloe said that she had never visited her, and Melissa suggested that they go there together when possible. To find out which books Khloe likes, you first need to read at least one. That's right, the books are so good. Khloe loves it when a teacher is so passionate about something. It seems as if her small world is becoming wider, coming into contact with people. And then the third teacher came and invited Khloe to chat. She asked how Khloe managed to win such a respected man. At Soviet events, there are a lot of girls who hunt for the Marquee because he is so famous for his cold character. She, as a person who easily gets along with people, wants to know Khloe's special way. Khloe said she didn't do anything special. The teacher said that she was so modest and so beautiful. She knew that Khloe was so lovely that Marquee simply could not resist. Next came the question of when Khloe's wedding ceremony would take place. Then Betsy joined the conversation and said that there was no need to worry. Mr. Ashuje was in the process of preparation. The date has not yet been chosen, and he cannot yet give a definite answer. The Marquess really has such a controversial character. Madame Khloe is also always serious. The teacher said that today on the way there she saw a girl selling flowers. She was wearing shabby clothes, but for some reason it looked cute. If Khloe saw this, she would immediately understand why she bought them from her. The pink-haired teacher said that she loves flowers very much, which is why there are so many flowers in their house. She asked if she could give this bouquet to the generous Marquise. She was surprised to once again plunge into long-standing memories of her terrible past. The day after Joseph got drunk and beat Khloe for the first time, he brought a small bouquet of flowers and apologized, saying that his life was very difficult. Because of which he raised his hand against Mrs. Khloe. He asked, "Did he do something terrible?" And then he got drunk. But this bouquet has nothing to do with that occasion. Khloe accepts it with gratitude. The teacher wondered what it was. Throughout the entire lesson, indifference wandered in Khloe's eyes. Just like the rumors say, she is incredibly beautiful, but beauty is all she has. She deliberately begged her father to become the Marquise's teacher. At social events, the demands for dancing and playing the piano are not too high, and it is not at all difficult to learn. But she felt like she was sitting opposite an emotionless doll, so she was just a girl who was able to get the position of Marquise because of her pretty face. Khloe doesn't even know how great of a person Ash Brinicle is. In the 200-year history of the Katanis Empire, there were 5 prestigious families. Among them, Brinicle are those who inherited the blood of the imperial family. They didn't even participate in the founding of the empire. The status and position of this family is so high that it pierces the sky. Marquee Brinkle did not show his child to the outside world until he developed secondary sexual characteristics. After receiving a complete education and achieving a certain level, he was supposed to make his debut as a socialite. 10 years ago, his parents were struck down by illness, but Ash Brinicle appeared in society and began his duties as a Marquess only when he completed his training. A huge number of people envied him. Moreover, many wanted to marry their daughters to him, even those who had not yet reached the age required for marriage. The heads of noble families often came to the Marquis with such proposals. The pink-haired girl was shocked that it was Khloe who was able to achieve a place next to Ash. The dance that the lady performed for the first time today turned out very well, but even so, in the girl's opinion, there is nothing special about it. Even if she was provided with teachers, the teacher wondered if she could even write. Moreover, Khloe calls herself a noblewoman. Anyone would have been indignant at receiving such a bouquet as a gift, but she ignored it, which angered the teacher. The girl admitted that she did this on purpose. She wrapped flowers bought on the road from a commoner. As beautiful as Khloe was, the woman wanted to let her know that her status was the same as that of a flower girl. The pink-haired girl believed that the Marquise did not even realize how prominent her position was. Although she was popular with men, if you had added her beauty to your knowledge and pedigree, she would have been much better than this empty doll. Ash Brinicle is not like other men. Although he does not act arrogantly, he is well aware of the weight of his status. Not only is he simply handsome, Ash Brinicle knows how to control people. He has never been involved in any scandal. If it weren't for Khloe, it would be nice if the Marquise became a teacher. Since in the evenings the Marquise repeated the material she had covered for the lessons that became part of her everyday life, time flew by very quickly. In these few days, she met and became acquainted with more people than in the past 3 years. Khloe began to have some guesses that what was happening now was absolutely normal, but in the past it was unnatural. The Marquise was sitting on the sofa and noticed a bouquet of yellow flowers lying on the nightstand. The maid asked if she should put them in a vase. Khloe replied that there was no need and that she should just leave them there. The girl was unusual. For some reason, she became confused when she looked at the flowers. Ash approached Marquise and said that she was so lost in thought that she did not notice someone else's presence. He said that the girl is a very hardworking student, but sometimes it's normal to be a little lazy. The girl didn't understand how she could be lazy, especially after she wanted to study herself. She felt her stiffness disappear while talking to him. Ash waited for an answer. Even if Khloe spoke for a long time, remained silent or stammered, he didn't get angry, didn't scold, didn't get into his soul. The girl thought that she would probably begin to feel sad if the man stopped visiting her. The ruler asked what kind of flowers she had. The Marquise replied that Mrs. Casorin Labirin gave them to her. The man asked if there was a reason. The girl said that the teacher saw a girl with flowers by the road and immediately remembered Khloe. Ash took the bouquet in his hands and asked if the girl liked it. While Khloe had yet to respond, he added that she shouldn't respond in a way that would gain anyone's approval, because her feelings are always more important. Stepping over herself, the Marquise said that she didn't like flowers, because looking at them brought back unpleasant memories to the girl. Ash asked that this was not due to the fact that the girl herself once sold flowers. Khloe wanted to share but was afraid. The man said that she could tell him everything because it was normal. He wanted to listen to her. Anything. He was interested in knowing everything. The girl admitted that she remembered how her ex-husband gave Khloe flowers after beating her. Ash threw the bouquet out the window and told the servants that there was trash in the yard that needed to be cleaned up. The man rubbed his hands and said that it doesn't matter how expensive or pretty something is if it causes you stress. He asked how often Khloe's husband hit her. The girl asked that she didn't know because the memories were not so clear. Sleep, work, and beatings formed a vicious circle. This happened so often that she couldn't really remember. Ash asked if it started after moving into Joseph's house. She replied that it happened almost immediately. Khloe thought that the Marquee was disappointed and now despised her, that she should not have opened her mouth in the first place. The girl thought that if she could remain silent, as she did before, everything would end better. Ash interrupted Khloe's train of thought and asked her forgiveness for stirring up emotional wounds. He added that the man knows very little about her, so he has no choice but to ask. Marquess said that it is normal if a girl wants to talk about something. It's okay if her story isn't complete or coherent. It's normal if she wants to get angry or scream. Ash says that although Khloe was treated so unfairly before, he is grateful that the girl was able to trust him with her painful memories. The man's eyes seemed so sincere to Khloe. She said that it was not unfair because the girl was beaten because she deserved it. Ash was shocked and said that Marquess was talking nonsense. The girl said that Joseph used force whenever she could not please him. If she had put more effort into being liked, she wouldn't have to go through this. Ash clenched his hand into a fist and realized that Khloe actually held a lot of pain inside her. The man asked why the man who used force did this to the girl. She replied that there were many reasons. Due to Khloe being too slow, because she shamelessly asked for money to buy bread, and also because she suddenly fell asleep when she still needed to sew up a lot of clothes. The girl believed that it was all because of her mistakes. If she had thought otherwise, she would not have been able to stand the day. Khloe was haunted by thoughts of beatings. She blamed herself for everything. Because she was stupid, because she made a mistake. She had to think that way because she thought she could bear it. Ash turned to the girl and said that if it were a normal person, he would not hit someone for such a trifle. He asked if it had not been her, but a child younger than her, she would have hit him. Khloe responded that she would hit a child and that she did make a mistake. Ash said that what she did was not a mistake, especially since they became husband and wife. He added that people make minor mistakes throughout their lives, but we don't usually call these things mistakes. The man who hit Marquess used this as an excuse to justify himself. Khloe was surprised that she didn't do anything wrong. She thought that there was nothing wrong with what the man did, that it wasn't that she wasn't hurt. It hurt so much that she didn't want to suffer anymore. The girl wanted to live happily, to receive love, and to love that long ago time when she spent her days gratefully and happily. She wanted to go back. A tear of her own fell onto Khloe's palm. She had wanted to cry for a long time. She wanted to free herself from the person who was tormenting her. She wanted to live happily. The girl put her palm to the man's cheek and thought that he was crying because of her. Ash placed his hand on hers. Tears began to flow from his eye. He said that the Marquess could cry as much as she wanted. The teacher said that there are many people who do not study sincerely, saying that it is not interesting or that they know everything. But Khloe studied really well. Especially with today's history, etiquette lessons, there have been many circumstances where others simply did not listen. The teacher was glad that the girl was even asking questions on the topic. Marquess said it was because she had such a good mentor. Khloe no longer hesitated or fumbled her words, and was now able to answer as Elaine had suggested during their third lesson. She hesitated and clumsily chose her words, not because of a physical defect, but because of the consequences of long-term psychological terrorism. The teacher noted that the girl looks much better when she smiles. She asked if this meant she could smile like that when she made her debut in society. Elaine replied that some people show their charisma when they smile. However, she thinks it's okay not to do it when you don't want to. However, an indifferent expression can make people feel intimidated, or as if Khloe is not happy to be there. She needs to be careful. Elaine asked Marquess how old she was. She replied that she was 25. The teacher concluded that the girl was not very talkative, not lazy, and not arrogant. She's definitely not faking it and has a touch of mercy in her. The maid entered Khloe's chambers and saw her sleeping on the couch. She said that beautiful people really remain beautiful even when they sleep. Betsy was glad that she had prepared a large pillow for her mistress. Even despite all the difficulties that Khloe faced, she still remained kind. She is still afraid and shy of many things, but she is trying to change, which pleases the maid. In any case, Betsy needed to drag the girl to another place, but she really couldn't have done it alone. The maid had no choice but to wake Khloe. Brinicle came into the room and said that he himself would drag the girl to bed. The servant had no choice but to nod obediently and step aside. The man took Khloe in his arms, which woke her up. He asked her to sleep a little more. At first he was happy simply because he could bring the girl here. It is not easy to find traces of someone whose traces have been deliberately erased, especially since Ash himself had a lot of work to do. Thanks to the small clue they found, the man began to wait for Khloe in this bar. When the old bar door opened and he saw the girl walk in, Ash froze in place and couldn't breathe. It was all because of her unhappy look and pale face, and also because her husband immediately caused a stir and put Khloe up for auction. All the man wanted was to strangle the bastard Joseph and take the poor girl with him. If Ash had found the poor girl much earlier, if he had received the title of Marquee much earlier, then he would not have had to see her in such a deplorable state. All in order to see that smile again, so that she could smile again like that time. These were either memories or dreams. Khloe was at home with her parents, who were reading her a book. A blonde girl entered the room. The main character ran up to her and smiled, rejoicing at their meeting. The blonde girl was shocked by the library, calling it beautiful. Today's activity is about finding a book that suits Khloe's tastes. This library had books of different genres. It couldn't be more perfect. The teacher asked the girl if she was too calm, because she didn't make a shocked expression on her face. Khloe replied that Miss Matilda was a passionate and pure teacher who loved to talk, and that there would be nothing wrong with a woman's confession. The teacher said that Madam had really come a long way with her words, and that it was because of what she had been taught. The Marquise agreed with the words of her mentor. The latter added that she is not one who teaches well. The responsibility of teaching someone is hard work, and it is a job you have to love. She would rather collect books than teach anyone. But the teacher could not say no, because the conditions put forward by His Excellency were 50% good. Khloe asked if it was a pass to the library, to which she replied that it was something like that. The teacher was told that she would be shown a place that was not open to the public. She was writing an article, so His Excellency's personal papers would be a great help. The Marquise watched the teacher's facial expressions and understood that this is what a happy person looks like, enjoying his interests. Khloe said it was great to write the article and that she was interested in learning about a woman's specialty. She replied that Miss was doing much better than before. The teacher shared that at first the girl didn't talk much, so she felt like she didn't want to learn from her. And Khloe, it turns out, was simply more reserved. The girl's attention was attracted by the book Surprised Girl with a Ribbon, and she took it out from more than one of the 1,000 shelves. The Height of a Girl Who Really Loved Ribbons, a story about love and friendship. Previously, this book seemed very interesting to the Marquise. The mentor said that Khloe should like this book, because when the woman was young, she also liked it very much, and she bawled her eyes out over the last 14 volumes. The girl said that she had not read beyond the 5th volume. When the book in the series Surprised Girl with a Ribbon came out, she ran to the store to buy it herself. Many years have passed since she read the 5th volume that she has already forgotten everything. The timid man who played the villain did not understand anything. Khloe felt that the villain in the novel knew more than the villains in the real world. Melissa said she would keep the story a secret. Every time she turned the page, the girl thought what would happen next. Perhaps this was the book she wanted to read. It was just a book, but Khloe was glad that she had found another memory of the past. The girl had fun reading the book after so much time. She ended up reading until late and fell asleep. Betsy said Khloe should rest a little more. It looks like the lady had black eyes. For some reason, the girl didn't like this class. Kasorin said that apparently Miss was not used to horses. Horses are sensitive animals. They perfectly sense human fear, which can be dangerous. Khloe assumed that this was a horse riding, piano, and dancing teacher. Luckily, she had learned the basics of these 3 classes, so there shouldn't be any lack of knowledge. Even though so much time had passed, they still had not started riding a horse. The Marquise said that she was not afraid of horses. The teacher said that Khloe couldn't bluff things that were actually dangerous. Of course, this is the girl's first time riding a horse, so Kazarin understands that she is curious, but she also doesn't want the Marquise to be in danger. The teacher grabbed Khloe by the shoulder and asked if she was the kind of person who took risks out of curiosity. The girl liked it even at that moment. Kasorin checked the safety of the mount. After class, she went to the riding field and rode a horse. This was possible because His Excellency gave the teachers some freedom of action. The teacher said that Ash Brinicle was really good. She had no idea that the training field was so huge. She added that the field must be at least 1,000 acres. Kasorin apologized when she realized that Khloe might not know this unit of measurement. She said it was like someone had moved to a village where ordinary people lived. The girl thought that the Marquess probably knew how wide the settlement was, because she herself lived in such a place. For Khloe, the funniest thing was that the pink-haired girl would not allow herself to say such a thing in front of others. At the same time, she tried to play to her greatest strengths by pretending to be the most elegant lady in the world. The teacher came here to be a mentor or to supervise this marriage. Kasorin asked to be notified when His Excellency goes for a walk. Since Miss has a lot to learn, she can replace Khloe as a mentor. Since horseback riding was dangerous, according to the representative, she asked the girl to just sit down and watch from the side. Kasorin could demonstrate proper horsemanship. But this does not mean that the piano and dance lessons were of high quality. The piano still remains at a beginner's level, as if the teacher's knowledge had only reached that level. Someone knocked on Khloe's door. Kasorin came in and said hello. She noticed that the girl looked very tired today. The last one probably didn't sleep well. Khloe shared that she fell asleep while reading a book. Kasorin said that those who have seen the books read them quite normally. Even if it's unusual, Marquee still shouldn't sit up late. She must take care of the person who captivated his lordship. The teacher asked what the girl was reading. She replied that it was the Girl with a Yellow Ribbon series of books. The woman almost laughed, as if this was not surprising to her. Kasorin cleared her throat and said that this was a book for children. Of course, she is very interesting, but since Khloe is now a marchioness, she should aim for a level higher than that. She added that commoners and nobles are completely different things. In our world, nobility must be given to others according to their authority and status, and in order to do this, Khloe needs to be as hard on herself as possible. She had to learn to do this. Now the girl had to think differently, not as before. Kasorin continued to cross the line, but the Marquise did not want to tell her anything. Moreover, it was Ash who chose her. The teacher said that she came here to teach Khloe dancing, horse riding, and playing the piano. But she thought it would be wrong to remain silent about it, because she was doing it for the well-being of her mistress. The teacher thinks that this is more important than any lesson. Kasorin took Khloe's hands in her hands and said that if she didn't know anything because of her humble origins, then the girl had better stay close to someone she knew well. And even if not by much, the pink-haired one knew more and was more prepared for life in society than the Marquise. It would be nice if she listened to the teacher's advice. Kasorin thought that it was not so important who Khloe was before, because now she is a marchioness. Other nobles would have chickened out, but during all this time the marchioness never responded. That's exactly the kind of girl she is. The teacher asked if Khloe could already read letters. She asked if the girl needed a little help with this, because she couldn't tell Miss Matilda that her lessons for the Marquise were too difficult. The language of the Empire is quite difficult. Since, according to Kasorin, Khloe is not good at this despite all the efforts made, she will kindly help the girl. You can start with books with fairy tales that the teacher wanted to recommend. The pink-haired girl smiled sarcastically and thought that the girl's facial expressions indicated that she didn't even understand that she had been insulted. Khloe just remained silent and clenched her fists. The girls were approached by Ash, who said that Count Lavirin said that Kasorin would be an excellent teacher, so he chose her. In his opinion, the girl was incredible at teaching. The girls were surprised by the presence of the Marquis. The teacher didn't realize how long he stood behind her and hoped he didn't hear anything. Kasorin said that Brinicle flatters her and was surprised that he even came to watch her classes in person. The girl added that if she had been talking about a man's visit, she would have been better prepared. The Marquis never attended classes, but he came to Kasorin's classes and even complimented her. This was a great chance to leave a good impression. Or maybe Ash came here for a reason but to see the teacher. Kasorin compared herself to the stupid Marquise, who cannot express her opinion and simply shines with her pretty face. She, Kasorin Lavirin, is much smarter and knows how to behave correctly in high society. She was sure that Ash liked her. What should a girl do if she likes a man too? How can she show that their feelings are mutual? Ash said that Kasorin had the honor of teaching his wife, but judging by her choice of humiliation as training, she may have thought she was superior to the Marquise. The girl was shocked by this statement. This means that he heard everything. She asked for forgiveness and said that she was too extravagant, which is why she made such a stupid mistake. Kasorin said that she did not want to offend anyone. Ash said that Madame was amazing and that he shouldn't listen to her apologies. She owes his dear wife an apology. Catherine did not understand what kind of person was standing in front of her, because the Marquis, whom she knew, had always been very kind. He was always warm, like sunlight. She never thought that a man had such a side. Khloe conveyed the words of the teacher that maybe she just didn't know how to play correctly, and that her maximum was the first volume. The Marquise asked the girl that maybe she did this because she did not have the confidence to teach Khloe further. The lady said that she also did this for the well-being of Catherine, and asked if she was asking her. Ash commented that it was the laugh of a yard dog, although even a dog's laugh is a luxury for a teacher. The man asked if Kasorin had just been rude to this lady again. He said that he would like to hear more about everything, but now he can only think about one thing. It is obvious that now the girl behaved very rudely. Kasorin tried to justify herself and said that this was all just a misunderstanding. Ash said that whether it was a misunderstanding or not, he decides here. If a man does not consider what happened to be a misunderstanding, then it is not a misunderstanding. Brinicle told the girl to tell her father that he would have to discuss the Alteran deal with the other family. Catherine did not understand what was happening. The gentleman said that if the father asks the reason, the girl should say that it is because she showed disrespect to the Marquise. He will immediately understand everything if she says that today they were fired from their position as a private teacher. Catherine began to shout that Ash had no right to insult her. He replied that she had insulted Marquise Khloe Brinicle. They value the honor of the Marquise, and it seems to him that the girl insulted this honor with her behavior. The teacher simply wanted to put that simpleton in her place, and considered Ash's behavior to be cruel towards her. The man said that while he was still holding himself together, it would be better for Kasorin to leave this room. If a girl does something like this again in the future, it won't end with just one warning. Laverin fell to her knees and begged for the Marquise's forgiveness. She said that she was too young. That's why she was naive and couldn't restrain herself. Brinicle could not stand it and ordered the servants to throw the girl out of here. While they were dragging her by the hand, she screamed at the top of her lungs that she was asking for forgiveness, right up until the doors slammed behind her. It's been 10 years since Khloe has expressed her opinion so clearly and firmly. Ash walked up to her and took her hand. The girl thanked her new husband for his help. He replied that she could not imagine how happy he was when she answered Catherine so bravely. The Marquise can continue to say what she wants. Compared to how a man treats other people with Khloe, he becomes a completely different person. Ash said that in the future the girl will meet many more people like Catherine. There are those who don't know what they are talking about, those who ridicule others excessively, those who make things that do not belong to them their own. There are even those who just love to ruin everything for others for no apparent reason. For such people, kind Khloe will look like an easy target. It's a shame, but that's the reality. Ash is afraid that as long as the girl is in this world, she will have to deal with such people. Khloe has been through a lot. After her parents died, their friends came and said that she could take care of herself. Without any connections with the outside world, the manager of the orphanage allocated her a room, pushing all her work onto the girl and did not pay anything. She was stupidly naive, and the girl was forced into marriage with Joseph. Feeling that the freedom given to you is becoming less and less, isn't this the real fear of any person? Of course, everything was different, but practically nothing changed. But before that, it was much worse. The girl could not say anything. They did not listen to a single word she said. Khloe likes the current situation much better. Lady Catherine does not admit her guilt. It is unlikely that she will regret what happened in the future. But at first, the Marquise even wanted to accept her apology. The girl asked Ash if he often experienced this. He answered yes. Khloe asked if it hurt him. The master called her sweet and said that after everything she's been through, she still tries to care for others. The girl said that it was all because the man saved her. Despite his condition, he condescended to her and saved her. Ash has always been kind to Khloe, so she doesn't want him to get hurt. He just laughed and said that she was kind. It seems he underestimated the amount of kindness she possessed. The man asked the girl that if he had said that he was in pain, she would have hugged him. She was shocked by this question. No one has ever hugged Khloe except Joseph. His hands were very rough, like a wall pressing with force. Sometimes the girl felt bad thinking about those times. When Ash does this, Marquise is neither pleased nor disgusted. The man always thinks about her and asks if she is okay. This person is different. Khloe isn't afraid of him. He hugged her to calm down, but it seems that it is the girl who is being calmed down here. The man said that the warmth of the human body is very calming. What is this feeling? This is not a feeling of tension, but something more exciting. This is something not bad, something indescribable. Harsh conditions easily change people. There have been many cases where kind and friendly people, having experienced adversity, radically changed for the worse. But it doesn't look like she's changed much. Khloe, who asked if Ash's heart hurts, doesn't know what she was trying to express. Her emotionless face seemed to glow a little, and her barely noticeable smile could change people. Just like before, asleep and faded away, although these feelings seem to be forgotten, the Khloe he knew a long time ago is still hidden inside. Being neglected and constantly tortured both physically and psychologically must have taken a very toll on her. Even so, Ash, who was already used to pain more than others, would suffer even worse than from loneliness. How can a girl with such a kind heart tolerate all this cruelty? In this world, people will not leave the goddess alone. When Ash found out that the girl was married, he decided that if she was happy, then he would not even try to win Khloe's heart. A man could help her from the shadows, but it would lead nowhere. In her marriage, it wasn't even about happiness. Joseph didn't even consider her a person. Ash wanted to get rid of all the people who were responsible for the girl's misfortune. But first, he had to give Khloe a choice. The people who did this to her can sincerely ask her for forgiveness, and perhaps by forgiving them, she will find peace of mind. The man, of course, did not think this would happen, so he put this coincidence of circumstances aside for later. However, this is an isolated case where Ash turns a blind eye to something like this. If Khloe came to him again and asked him to get rid of someone, the man would no doubt do it with all his cruelty. No matter how long it takes, Ash will love her no matter what, for the rest of her life. Joseph sat at the bar and was surprised that he had already finished the bottle. A couple of days ago, he was glad that he sold his emotionless wife and received a lot of money, but now only a couple of coins remained. Money comes and goes easily. As soon as Joseph received the money, he bought a big house and began betting big on gambling. At first, he won a lot of money, but that was all. Since then, the money began to disappear at breakneck speed. He thought he had luck by the tail when he got a whole mountain from a couple of coins, but in the end, he lost them all. Joseph is on the verge of foreclosure on his house. Passion put her hand on the man's shoulder and said that she couldn't live like this. She began to demand more because her baby is the best. Joseph thought that all this woman was doing was begging him. If only she were Khloe, even though the house is old, it would always be clean. She was always neat. The girl pretended not to understand that Joseph had run out of money. She asked him to tell him that the man loved her, his Camilla. The man kissed the girl and said that he had given her something better than words, so it was time for her to begin the story. Camilla said that the man who bought Joseph's ex wasn't just someone with a tight wallet, he was a noble aristocrat. Recently, there was a rumor in high society about a famous noble family. The rumor says that his wife was a commoner of indescribable beauty, and even the emperor himself approved of the marriage. Maybe due to the fact that the exact wedding date has not yet been set. By the way, there are also rumors about this. It's not clear what to believe, but all that is known is that she is a brown-haired woman with curly hair and mysterious violet eyes. The girl from the rumors really resembled Joseph's ex. He could not believe that this insensitive woman now belonged to a famous noble family. Joseph wanted her to suffer. He sold her to amuse himself. He wanted Khloe to be finished off completely, so she would miss and suffer for him even more. Neither the man who bought her nor she would want her past to become known to everyone. Is it possible to hit a big jackpot from them? Khloe was the one who sobbed at Joseph's feet, asking for forgiveness for her wrongdoings. When he played with her, he felt a certain superiority that filled the man. He was older than Khloe, uneducated and tired of life. Therefore, he despised her even more. The girl was luckier than him. Moreover, this became a good reason for her suffering. Because of that incident, Joseph's inferiority complex only grew stronger. The worst thing is to think that you are disappointed in yourself. Noble family? The man sold her to make Khloe feel guilty. How dare she think she was better than she was? This woman who should be below him. He decided that he would make a fortune. If Joseph causes a scandal among the common people and these arrogant nobles, then they will have no choice but to kick Khloe out. Such purebred aristocrats do not like it when their pure blood is mixed with the mob. It was Camilla who gave him the idea to sell Khloe. This way, he will have a lot of money. This time everything will work out as it should too. Joseph needed Camilla to find out who had the girl on his neck now. He wanted to humiliate her in front of everyone. To think that Khloe could climb that high. If after this it falls to the very bottom, it will finally break. Betsy helped the girl get ready. Just a little more and she will be able to go to tea party. Khloe was planned to be presented as the Marquise at a larger ball, but first the owner decided to organize a small tea party so that she could familiarize herself with such events. Khloe appreciates that Ash cares so much about her. She thinks it is too early for her to appear before the general public. Most likely, most people she meets will despise her because she is a commoner turned Marchioness. Khloe has just accepted that she has become a Marchioness. It's all thanks to Ash. Newlyweds. Betsy asked what Khloe told her. She was surprised that she said this out loud and replied that she had not said anything. Katerina's father was very angry with her, shouting about what she had done. But Katerina denied this, saying that it was nothing Not Bad did. She talked about how I just wanted to teach the arrogant girl a lesson, but how dare she do this to her? Katerina believes that it was dishonest. Her father insisted that although she was a commoner, she was now a Marchioness. This marriage was concluded and approved by the emperor. Her position is higher than Katerina's position. He told her to teach her like this, as befits a teacher, and not to make her angry. But Katerina in response only said that she had not done anything wrong. Her father thinks that if she says that it is the Marquis who is wrong, then it's definitely her fault. The Marquess remembered every word of Katerina. After that, how her father talked to the lawyer. He asked him what he wanted to be punished for. Humiliation or for breaking a trade deal. With rage in his eyes, he asked Katerina whether she knew how much this deal is important to them. The father thought that Katerina would become close to the Marchioness, and this would greatly benefit his business. And she came and arranged it. Now it's all over. Katerina did not understand why she should be friendly with Khloe, because she was just a stupid commoner. The man with the mustache replied that it was because she was the Marchioness. Everything that Katerina said was regarded as humiliation of the Marquise's family. Moreover, the girl failed to cope with the role of a teacher and did not teach her how to behave in society. The father asked his daughter to admit her guilt, to which she became angry. She did not understand how he could protect Khloe and why he supported a commoner. The man replied that he was not protecting anyone, but only wanted to point out Katerina's mistakes. She could not even imagine how difficult it was for a simple viscount to move to the capital. He worked day and night so that his family could stand on its own 2 feet. The father asked Catherine if it was true that she asked the Marquise to meet with Ash Brinicle. She replied that she just wanted to chat with him once and asked who told Dad about this. The head of the family replied that his young and naive child should not yet be in secular society. Instead, she will sit at home and relearn how to behave correctly. The Marquess said that if this happens again, he will terminate all our contracts concluded with him in the capital. The father was ready to do anything to maintain his position. Otherwise, in order not to go completely bankrupt, you will have to sell all of Katerina's dresses and her jewelry. Viscount Lavigne, a man who lived in a small provincial town, made his way to the capital with great success with his talent, to place Katerina closer to the Marquis, so that they can become closer and become good friends. The plan is still possible, but the documents that the Marquis sent contain a detailed statement of everything that Katerina did and said to the Marquis. Sometimes she even tried to find out Ash's whereabouts. To make matters worse, she asked the Marquis for meetings with him. My father couldn't read it anymore. Despite the fact that she knew what the Marquess was capable of, Katerina behaved so low. It's most likely because she was with Khloe. Was she not aware of her actions? Due to the fact that the father made a decent fortune, he spoiled his girl too much. It was because of his excessive carelessness that she became so arrogant. How dare Khloe tell him all this? If she cannot tolerate such a small thing, it means that the distance between her and the Marquis will soon begin to increase. Isn't this all her fault? If she had done everything as needed, then Katerina would not have told her anything. It's all the fault of the ragged Marquise. The girl must take revenge at any cost. When Khloe and Ash get married, will they still love each other? In a noble family, there are serious demands on the future heir. Is it normal for her to be a low-born aristocrat? Will girls treat the child as a bastard? But most importantly, can she decide to do this? For Khloe, a relationship is a thing that can only contain pain and fear. These unpleasant memories. However, she felt at peace with Ash back then. Who knows, maybe they can live happily ever after. Because of this, in Lessons on the History of the Empire, the girl learned a little about the Brinicles. Of course, not very much, but still. Betsy finished preparing and complimented the Marquise. She replied that it was all thanks to the efforts of the maid. The girl asked where Khloe was going. She replied that he was going to the library. Betsy said that among the nobility one could hardly find such a diligent student as the Marchioness. The story of the Brinicle family is much more than the girl expected. Now she is Marquise Brinicle. It was time for the girl to go to her room and read the books that were left. The garden looked like a small town or a dense forest that surrounded the estate. This family dates back to the very birth of the country. It was created by the younger brother of the first emperor, so all family members have royal blood. This family is greater than Khloe thought. The girl told Betsy that she had read in a book that this was a place with a rich history. She replied that this was so, and that the Marquis was kind to hard-working people, so there were many who wanted to work for him. Throughout Ash's life, many talented people have worked with him. The emperor even invited one of them to his place. This continues to this day. Personal maid Alicia was invited to work in the palace, and she was even allowed to retain her previous position. But Marquee is doing so well that she declined the invitation and said that she loved her current job too much. According to what Khloe read, the Brinicles family is related to the royal family. Also, only members of the lesser nobility worked for the royal family. The girl asked if everything was really like that. Betsy replied that she was not, and added that she was a commoner, and that nowadays everyone who worked on this estate, except for a few people, was a commoner. In the past, instead of ordinary maids, lesser nobility or people loyal to the Marquess were usually appointed to the position of Brinicle's butler. Nowadays, the Marquess occasionally says hello when he meets servants. From the moment Ash proposed to Khloe, he treated her like his future wife. She knew he was no ordinary man. It is worth noting that most of the court officials are aristocrats. Among them, there are also those who were recruited as commoners and later became nobles. Khloe's attention was drawn to the window of the room she promised herself not to enter. Ash, who had been looking for his future wife for a long time, approached the girls. He heard that she went to the library and asked what the girl was doing here now. She was surprised that the man came so early. Although they had dinner together and talked as often as they could, the guy is almost always busy, so meeting him in the morning is a rarity. On the day when Katerina came, he also returned home early. I wonder if it was by chance that Ash showed up at the moment when Katerina was training her. Brinicle wanted to tell Khloe something and admitted that he really missed her. He invited the girl to take a walk and she agreed. It was very beautiful in the garden. The man shared that when he was little, he often ran here when he was upset. He didn't want to run far because he hoped someone would find him. But if he was hiding in the nearest garden, the maid would quickly find the boy, so he always chose this place. When Ash hid, his mother always found him. People thought they shouldn't do this, but for the man, this place is connected with his memories. When this guy was a child, his eyes, nose, and mouth must have looked similar. No, maybe the eyes were bigger and cuter. The face line should have been softer. For some reason, Khloe began to remember the girl who lived with her when she was little. Unforgettable memories are associated with her. One day she suddenly disappeared. Khloe's parents were very upset. Finding the little girl who left without saying a word was always hard. The girl did not know why they lived together, nor why the girl disappeared. One sunny morning, her parents brought her home. That's why they swam together. She can't possibly be the Marchioness. Ash must have been a very handsome boy. He asked Khloe to stand away from him for a while, which surprised the girl. The man got down on one knee and asked the cherished, "Will you marry me?" holding an open box with a ring in his hands. The girl was surprised and asked if they were not already married. The Marquess replied that they were, of course, married on paper, but he never formally proposed to Khloe, and she re-chose him. Moreover, this time the man wants to propose to the Marquise directly. If someone important comes into his life, he wants her to choose him sincerely. The girl thought that after what she had experienced, her heart was closed to love, but she wants to give these feelings another chance. The one who said that she was everything to him proposed to her. Khloe asked Ash that if she wanted to leave, he would let her go. He replied that she could do whatever she wanted. Even though this one agreed to let the girl in, it doesn't look like he'll ever want to. Perhaps when the girl leaves, he will continue to chase her. And this is not just a play of imagination or intuition. Khloe has already suffered from this in the past. However, she already agreed to become the Marquess's wife. Ash asked permission to put on the ring and apologize for only doing it now. This ring fit on Khloe's finger like a glove. It was passed down from generation to generation for betrothals. It is made of special metal. When the ring interacts with body temperature, it itself adapts to the girl's finger. Now this ring was Khloe's, so she had to wear it all the time. Ash had been thinking about holding a wedding ceremony for a long time and asked the girl's opinion on this matter. If she wants, he won't mind. But if the Marquise doesn't like this, then they can just modestly celebrate everything just between them. The girl didn't know what to answer. After all, this is what she always wanted. This is not a dream, it's true. She doesn't want to miss this chance. If this is possible, then she wants to be happy a little longer. Ash said that Marquise deserves it, that she is his favorite, so she should accept it as a gift. Khloe asked why, being the Marquise, he was so kind to her. Is it all because of her appearance or out of pity, or did he feel some kind of responsibility? The man was surprised that this is what the Marquise is thinking about now. He liked her beauty, he understands her situation, and also fulfills her obligations. He knew her heart. He knew how valuable the girl's feelings were. He loved her more than anything in the world. Khloe was surprised that this was the reason. The man loved her. Ash said that if she needed another reason for love, then she could add up everything he had named before. But no one can explain what love is. The man loved her because she was her, because she was his beloved. Yes, it was love. Khloe wanted to believe it, even if it was a lie. She had been burned too many times when someone said they loved her with all their heart. It's been a long journey. Why does everything Ash says and does make Marquise so happy? Why does she want to believe this? Why is she crying now? The man asked if Khloe wanted to go somewhere before the ceremony. He thinks that she is already tired of wandering around the estate. The girl wanted to go to the Winzella orphanage where she used to live. If the Marquise does not accept the past, then she will have no future. The past she denied still exists. But now, she's ready to accept him. The girl wants to be loved. Why is it so difficult for her to trust people? Maybe, by cutting herself off from everything, she was trying to escape. Perhaps in order to move on, she must face reality. Khloe woke up screaming in fear. Hearty food, good sleep. Due to the fact that this is an absolutely safe place, she slept like a lump, not dreaming for a long time. Her condition has improved, so it was a nightmare. The night is so scary. After the girl married Joseph, he continued to torment her not only during the day, but also at night. When Khloe was locked up at home, she most often just sewed. The husband didn't care about rabble like her. He believed that the girl should be proud that he took her as his wife. The poor thing thought it was nonsense, so she got angry and denied it. Every time she contradicted, she received beatings and mockery in response. That's why the girl is afraid of the night. When she is left alone, it seems to her that this nightmare will consume her. Perhaps it's just imagination. The Marquise was wondering what kind of feeling excites her so much. There was no suitable place for Khloe in this estate. Although there are even forest-sized gardens around, all the girl wanted was to find herself in the outside world. Somewhere, but not in your room. If Marquise opens this room, she will learn the secret that Ash Brinicle is keeping. Although the girl felt like she was almost succumbing to the man's sweet words, she couldn't open her heart so easily after being hurt so much. In addition to words, Ash also treated Khloe kindly. He punished people who offended her. He said that he loved him and proposed. But even after opening a door that should never have been opened, if he loves her, he will definitely forgive her. Is this person's love real or not? Even if Khloe opens this door, will Ash forgive her? The door is not locked. Should I open it or not? He didn't want to show it, but the girl still wanted to open this door against her will. Isn't this violence? Doing to others what you hate when they did this to you? How stupid is love that requires testing? On the other hand, Ash allowed Khloe everything except opening this room. Perhaps if she asked, he would allow the girl to open it. Before feelings of gratitude, Vrinicle began with suspicion. Something broke. Previously, the girl never doubted or tried to believe in the feelings of others, until many bad things happened to her. Although Khloe understands with her mind that now enough is enough and she can plunge into happiness, her heart cannot forget all this so easily. Ash walked down the corridor and noticed Marquise at the door of the secret room. Will she open this door? If she opens it and finds out everything, what will she do? Will you be surprised? Will he be scared? Will he despise him? The man thought that in any case this would not end well. However, if it's Khloe's choice, then it doesn't really matter. After all those terrible events, Ash should behave more carefully. Exactly the same as respecting the promises of others. She's not that greedy. Although the terrible past left a deep wound in her heart, it could never change the good nature of the Marchioness. She never changed. The Marquis felt lucky, but at the same time he felt sorry for Khloe. What should he do to fill her heart with happiness and love? The man could not stand it and called the Marquise. She turned around in shock when she heard Ash's voice. He asked why the girl wanders around the castle at night. She just bowed her head and did not understand how long Rinicles had been here. He must have seen everything she did. Also the moment when the girl doubted herself while standing in front of the door. Ash asked how often Khloe had nightmares, to which she replied that it was very rare. Although rare, they can still harm a girl. She promised that she would let the doctor examine her. The Marquise asked why her new husband woke up, to which he replied that he was a night owl and did not sleep soundly. So that's what it was. The girl didn't even know about it. When a person has a lover, he will never be able to sleep peacefully without his affection. Moreover, Ash had never shared a bed with anyone before. One day Khloe will fulfill her part of her duty, her marital duty. How important are descendants for a noble family? The girl shared that she often thinks about her obligations. Rinicles smiled and asked him to relax his hand. She did it unconsciously. Ash said that everything he does and wants to do with Khloe has nothing to do with procreation. If a girl does not want to give birth, then they can simply take the child from the orphanage. You don't need to force yourself to do something you don't want to do. Khloe is someone Marquee loves and respects, so just being close to her is enough for him. She doesn't need to try to hide her regrets and tiredness. No matter what it is, she just needs to share it with Ash because he will always support. If Marquise is not ready, then they can postpone everything. This surprised the girl. Rinicles said that she's very important to him. She cannot even imagine how much. For some reason, after the man's words, Khloe felt better. Ash said that it was time for them to go to bed, and that if the girl was scared, then he could sit with her until she fell asleep. All the Marquise's worries disappeared, as if they had never existed. She agreed to the man's proposal. The maid asked Khloe if she and Ash were heading to the orphanage. In her opinion, it is common for nobles to show their generosity to the people. But the fact that the first place they visit together will be an orphanage is quite strange. Of course, there is nothing strange in their desire to help, but this is their first trip together. Khloe shared that she had worked there before, which opened Bessie's eyes to the situation. This means that the girl wants to visit there either because she has pleasant memories associated with this place, or on the contrary, very bad ones. And now she wants to show everyone how good her life is. But Bessie understands that she should not care about this. Now her job is to make the girl as beautiful as possible. After getting ready, Khloe headed out. She had never thought about it before when she left the orphanage, but even though the manager squeezed every juice out of her, she never left the girl hungry. So it seems to the Marquise that although she was not the most pleasant person in the world, she was also not the worst. Khloe was rarely paid for her work, but the money that the manager promised went towards Stephen's treatment. The woman said that if Khloe wanted to get the money she earned, she would pay every last copper without any problems. But in tears, she asked to think about poor Stephen, to think about saving him. Therefore, Khloe agreed to receive partial payment, hard and underpaid work, marriage to Joseph. If you think about it now, there were several strange moments in the woman's words. The Marquise needs to deal with the past in order to move on. She needs to find out if the manager was just a complex person with oddities, or if she really was just using the girl. The cleaning process in the orphanage was in full swing. The manager commanded everyone, saying that Marquis Rinicles would arrive at any moment. The woman thought that perhaps Ash wanted to come here to donate a tidy sum to them. Of course, a large retinue arrived with the Marquis. The carriage doors opened and Ash stepped out. The woman was shocked by his beauty. She would like a man to look at her the way he would look at some girl inside the transport. Rinicle gave his hand to Khloe, and she also got out of the carriage. This shocked the manager. She did not understand why the girl was with the Marquis. With Khloe's background, she could only be a lover, but never Ash's official wife. This girl must just look a lot like her. The Marchioness greeted the manager Doria, and said that they had not seen each other for a long time. Realizing that it was really Khloe, the woman almost lost consciousness. The manager tried to seem kind and sympathetic, surprised at Khloe's new life. She complimented the girl and pretended that she was glad to meet the Marchioness. Doria seemed so grown up then, The girl thought that with her wisdom and experience, the woman would take care of her. But it was Khloe who had to take care of the other children and the rest of the orphanage in the middle of the night. It felt like the girl could do all this with her eyes closed. The manager taught Khloe how dangerous men can be, but she behaves completely differently. She looked at Ash with a loving gaze and didn't really hide it. How hypocritical. How can a girl trust someone who says one thing but does something completely different? Doria asked what happened to Joseph. Khloe said that he sold it to Marquess at auction. Ash added that thanks to her ex-husband, Marquise now has a wonderful wife. The manager said that the man was right, because Khloe is still a beauty. She doesn't know what exactly happened to the girl, but apparently everything turned out quite well. The woman called the Marquise a princess from a fairy tale, to which she reacted ambiguously. Irene, who was still working in the orphanage, walked past the girl. At first, she didn't believe that Khloe was standing in front of her. The Marquise asked why the girl worked here. She replied that she was offered Khloe's place, and she agreed, because anyway, Irene was already used to working here, and the world was full of dangerous men. Dangerous men. This world is full of both good and bad. But the way she said it reminds Khloe of those days. Irene asked how Marquise was doing, but when she saw Ash in front of her, she got scared and said that she still needed to do some laundry, and that she was pleased to see Khloe. The girl asked the manager how long Irene had been working here. Doria replied that she had a vulnerable and sensual soul, so the woman thought that it would be better for her to stay and work here than to end up in the outside world. So she offered her a job at the orphanage. Khloe said she wanted to talk to Irene alone. The manager said that the girl is quite shy, so she doesn't know whether Irene will agree, but Doria will ask her. Ash said that if today's donation was not enough, next time he would offer a larger amount. His wife is very important to Vrinicles, so he asked to fulfill her request if possible. The charmed woman said that she would do her best to persuade Irene. Khloe asked the girl how old she was. She replied that she was 16. The Marquise asked why Irene didn't find a job in the city like everyone else. The girl replied that she didn't know how to behave there, and that men also scared her. Khloe said that Irene used to get out into the city without any problems, to which she replied that not all people are kind, and the manager said that it would be better this way. The Marquise said that her friend's hair was so beautiful when she let it down. Irene replied that being beautiful was too dangerous, and that you should dress more simply and not attract attention at all. She's not the only one who thinks so. Doria pretended to care about us while in reality she destroyed our remaining self-confidence, and she was finally found out. Khloe couldn't believe she thought the woman was trying for her. It looks like she really has been leading them around her finger all this time. And finally it was revealed. Khloe didn't know if she was feeling delayed realization or anger, or maybe it was sadness. The girl asked Irene if she knew what happened to Stephen after she left. Doria told Khloe that she would use the money unpaid to her and received from Joseph to cure Stephen. Irene reluctantly said that the boy died under the care of the Marquise. Khloe thought the sacrifices she made back then would save him. It turns out that even after the operation, he still died. Irene was surprised, because Stephen had never had any surgery. The manager said that the time for the operation had long passed, so the doctor simply prescribed painkillers to ease his death. Maybe because of this, he was able to die peacefully in his sleep. They all felt that given how much Stephen was suffering, this was the best outcome. Khloe denied everything Irene said, saying that she clearly remembers the doctor saying that if Stephen had surgery, he could survive. It was a complex operation that would require several doctors, which is why it was so expensive. Doria said that the only way to get that much money was to marry Joseph, so Khloe agreed. And when she said that even that would not be enough, the girl allowed her to use the money that the manager owed her. But Stephen died and was never operated on. Where did all the Marquise's money go then? Doria told Irene that if she continued to work here, the woman would find her a good husband like Khloe. The manager said that there are many dangerous men in the world, and that she must protect beautiful girls like Irene. The girl asked the Marquise if her husband was a good person. Khloe said that Doria chose the wrong man for her, the one Irene saw today. The latter was upset by this answer. Now it was clear to the Marquise what she had to do. The girl needs more evidence to confirm her suspicions. She should intervene, but Khloe has no idea how to investigate such cases. However, Marquise now has someone who will help her. The past Khloe would have been afraid to ask about this, but it's too important. The girl needed to get over herself, so that she could move on. She needs to deal with these dysfunctional relationships so she can make room in her heart for the people who care about her. Khloe asked Eshu if he could help her investigate what was happening at Winzella's orphanage. He asked in return if she wanted to know if there were thefts, frauds, or anything else going on there. Finding someone's weaknesses, investigations involve many different things. They are not always related to something bad. The girl did not show any hostility towards Doria, but Ash immediately suggested that they should look for something bad. This means that he constantly encounters such things. But this was not something Khloe could live with. The Marquess is not yet ready to tell the girl about everything he has done to now be at his status. The people who took what was rightfully his got what they deserved. But telling Khloe about how they had to pay, the time for that had not yet come. She already suffers because of the problems she personally faces. Always when Ash was in pain or hard, he thought about her. Although it didn't last long, she was the embodiment of warmth and his first love. That's why he's sorry. It's a pity that I couldn't find her earlier, that she had to go through all these misfortunes, that she met him. The girl said that Vrinnicles was flattering her with these words and that she was not as good a person as he said. She had never hidden her feelings like this before. Ash remembered her still laughing and shining brighter than the sun. Khloe was a ray of light in his life. But if she has changed, this does not mean that his feelings for her have changed. Ash didn't say this to put the girl in a difficult position. He just wanted to say how much she meant to the man. The Marquise is already trying to understand herself. Vrinnicles does not want to become another burden for her. He could tell her how he found her later. The Marquis said that he would fulfill the request and asked to continue to call him simply Ash, because when she says "my lord," it sounds cold. It may be difficult at first, but a girl should try until she gets used to it. Ash doesn't ask her to love him, but at least Khloe should let him be her close friend. The girl was silent for a short time and then said that the man was already her closest person. She will never know how long the Marquis waited for this moment. He told Khloe that she had no idea how happy he was to hear that. A few days later, the Marquises were supposed to come to the orphanage again. The fact that Doria would have to meet Khloe again infuriated her. She felt like a witch from a fairy tale. She will have to see Khloe, the girl whom Doria, as it seemed to her, sent to the abyss of hell. The girl will be together with the most handsome man the manager has ever seen. The only thing that calmed her anger was the round sum of money that the Marquis donated last time. Doria spent most of the donations and grants from the Empire on the children from the orphanage. The money she made by keeping double records would seem like a lot of money to most people, but Doria considered it a worthy reward for her work. The manager didn't even think that Joseph could sell Khloe. He was so obsessed with her that the woman thought he would never let her go. And who would have thought that such a titled man would become her husband? Irene cannot have the same fate. Doria believed that she should be sold not as a wife, but as something worse. The woman was too kind to Khloe. If the manager had sent the Marquise to a place where there was no escape, then she would not have had to see the girl in such a high position. There are many places that need pretty girls. All Doria has to do is sell Irene to one of the worst. Barely a week has passed since her last visit, so most likely Khloe came to show off her position. She pretends that she came to express her gratitude to the shelter. Most likely she wants to pretend to be a magnanimous marchioness. It's annoying, of course, but what could Doria do? She needs to control herself if she wants to receive donations. The manager actively talked about the fact that she had given a certain sick boy, Billy, to the new parents whom she had been looking for so long. He was adopted by a wonderful couple a few months ago. What? Doria thought that Khloe would just nod in response as usual, but what was that look in her eyes? The woman thought that after her stories, they would give her more money. The Marchioness asked if Doria knew how she lived after her wedding to Joseph. She replied that it hardly matters now, and that it is rude to discuss her ex-husband in the presence of her new one. Ash said that if that's what his crush wants to talk about, then he doesn't mind. Khloe said Joseph humiliated and beat her, and she was never allowed to go out and talk to anyone. She was locked in a room and forced to work while being starved. She lived for 3 years as Joseph's plaything. The woman said in a bored voice that she didn't think he was that kind of person. The manager added that Khloe had a very hard time and wanted to take her hand, but the girl took it away. The Marquise asked Doria what she spent the money she received from Joseph on. She said that she spent the money on Stephen's treatment. Khloe said she heard the boy didn't have any surgery and died on painkillers. The woman sat in shock. Doria asked if Irene told her about this, and the manager said that she must have made a mistake. The woman wanted Stephen to have surgery, but the doctor said it was too late. Khloe said that if Stephen did not have the operation, then shouldn't Doria return the money unpaid to the girl and received from Joseph? The woman said she tried to get them back, but she was unable to contact Joseph. She couldn't do anything about it. Khloe asked where this money was now, to which the manager replied that she did not expect that, having become the Marquise, the girl would become so petty. Doria said that she spent the money on the needs of the shelter, but if Khloe wants it back, then she will return it all. There is not even a shred of regret in the woman. She thinks that she did nothing wrong. Dr. Roberts' notes regarding Stephen's illness said that the chances that the boy would survive if the operation was performed were high. But the manager, in tears, refused it, citing the fact that the orphanage had no money. Doria was shocked and denied everything, saying that it was some kind of misunderstanding. The shelter's financial report does not indicate the amount the woman received from Joseph or Khloe's unpaid money. There are also inconsistencies about the amount of money received and how much money is spent on the needs of the orphanage. But at the same time, Doria's savings and trinkets continued to increase. She became furious and said that Khloe's behavior was illegal. The girl's Marquis husband has the right to such investigations, granted by the emperor. He can conduct investigations independently of the city guard, so everything is within the law. Even with a little digging, it became clear to Marquee that this list was actually more extensive. Doria said that she is a good person who cannot be blamed, and that if it weren't for her, Khloe would not have become the Marchioness, and in general, everything ended well. This will not heal the pain that the girl experienced. Doria would never have sold Khloe if she felt even a little sorry for the girl, and then she wouldn't have to live thinking that it was all her fault. The Marquise asked the woman if she had ever been beaten. Does she know what it's like to tremble in fear of someone stronger than you, threatening and beating you for no reason? You start to lose yourself. You want to cry, but you can't for fear of being beaten even more. You start asking for forgiveness even if you haven't done anything wrong. You find yourself guilty all the time, and at some point you start to think, and you really are doing everything wrong, even though it's not true. There's nothing you can do except beg for forgiveness, because the person who beats you will not stop until you apologize, because you feel that if you do otherwise, you will die. 3 years, quite a long period. Even if Khloe was kept captive, the will to live would be much stronger. She lived for 3 years begging for mercy, all because Doria sold her for a handful of coins. The manager considered the word sold too wrong, because she did all this for the benefit of the Marquise. Doria wanted the girl to suffer. I didn't just want to, but in the end I did it. Khloe used to think it was her fault, but now she realized that she was not to blame for anything. The girl should be partly blamed only for the fact that she trusted people like the woman too much, but Khloe would have been in this position if people had not deliberately tried to deceive her. Just because a girl believed Doria's lies doesn't mean what she did wasn't wrong. It's time to take responsibility. In the manager's mind, she was always superior to Khloe. Khloe was beautiful, smart, kind. Doria felt a sense of power in controlling a girl as special as Khloe. But now Khloe is threatening her like she's the witch in a fairy tale. Doria admitted that she sold the girl to scumbag Joseph because he really wanted her. She persuaded the man to tell Khloe that she was saving his life, that the girl would do anything for this. For a moment, everyone was silent. The manager said she was sorry that Khloe had to go through all this, that the woman did not know that Joseph would beat her. But it was only because of all this that the Marquise met a wonderful new husband. She was able to overcome all adversity and met her prince, as if in a fairy tale. We can say that all this is only due to the fact that Doria sold the girl to Joseph. She hoped they would leave it that way. If Marquess hadn't saved Khloe, who knows how many more terrible things would have happened to her. She could have died without ever meeting him. She can only thank her husband, Ash Vrinicle, for who she has become. Doria has nothing to do with this. She will suffer a well-deserved punishment for theft and fraud. Most of all, Khloe was interested in what the manager's fiancé would say to all this. The veins on Doria's face bulged. Who was she to threaten a woman? Suddenly she was called by a certain Gray, who had been standing behind Doria all this time. She tried to explain that her former pupil, who became the Marquise, had come to her, but it looks like there was a slight misunderstanding. Gray wasn't supposed to arrive until tomorrow. Doria tried to send all the important people away because Khloe's arrival did not bode well. Gray was the first person the manager had a romantic relationship with, her first love. She couldn't just lose him, but he had already heard enough. Doria tried to play dumb. She said that words can be misunderstood if you don't hear the whole story. But she didn't succeed. Gray said he doesn't seem to understand people. He thought he had met the love of his life, but it turns out he was wrong. He thought that Doria always took selfless care of the children because she loved them. Gray could not understand what kind of normal person could drag someone into an unwanted marriage, and even because of money. He did not want to understand that Doria did all this only for her own benefit. The engagement is cancelled. If a woman wants compensation for her inconvenience, she will get it. But Gray doesn't think she's expecting a large sum. It was all over for her. Her position as a manager, a man who could drown her in his love. What awaits her now? Cold prison cell? Huge penalties? If she had been as beautiful as Khloe, would things have turned out differently? Maybe he would just turn a blind eye to such a trifle. But Gray never even thought that the woman was ugly, and he thought that her heart was even more beautiful. But he was very mistaken. He has nothing more to say. The man turned around and walked away. Doria asked Khloe if she was happy when she deprived the woman of everything. She replied that not yet. This statement surprised and angered Doria. She was about to hit Khloe, but Ash stopped her and said that he would tear out the woman's tongue. This is beyond her strength. Her instinct tells her that it is dangerous to continue. She's finished. Doria turned out to be meaner than the Marquess thought. Even calling her human feels wrong. Even when she did all those terrible things, she pretended to be white and fluffy. How hypocritical the woman is. Doria insisted on her innocence from the very beginning. She didn't have an ounce of regret for how Khloe suffered for several years after she sold her to Joseph. The Marquess would have continued to listen to her if Ash had not intervened. The man said that if the girl needed to rest, they could stop. Khloe replied that right now her soul is not as easy as she imagined. Maybe it's because Doria didn't ask for forgiveness? The girl felt that she felt better after she spoke out, but Khloe still felt empty inside. Ash said that it was probably because the others who were guilty were not punished. He felt better when he dealt with everyone who did wrong to him. Maybe it's because they're just a little different. Khloe didn't experience the same things as Ash. She did not experience the same pleasure as Ash when he dealt with the people who were aiming for his place. The girl did not feel any peace from taking revenge on them. The man asked how Khloe ended up in the shelter. She said that after the death of her parents, a couple who lived next door came to her. The girl knew who they were because they periodically came to her house. Khloe was small and naive, and they offered to help her. The couple said her parents ended up in debt after a bad investment, so they sold their estate to pay off their debts, and the neighbors got Khloe a place in the shelter. How can a girl explain how she felt then? It seemed as if she had been sucked into a tornado. A small suitcase was all she had when she arrived at the shelter, trembling. Khloe's house was on the outskirts of the capital. Her father preferred to be close to nature than in the crush of the city crowd. He wanted to settle even further, but all the deals were concluded in the capital, so he had to settle nearby. Ash asked if the shelter was near the capital. It took them a whole day to get there, and they saw many other shelters passing by. Khloe would like to believe that they have good conditions there. The man asked if the girl thought they acted strangely. Khloe felt like a blindfold had been removed from her eyes and she could finally see. Ash said that if the girl wants, he can investigate this case too. If they really tried to help Khloe out of good intentions, then the man wants to thank them. The Marquess said that she understood what he meant, but for now she wanted to give all her attention to the upcoming tea party. She knows that she still has a lot to do, but since she will be introduced for the first time as the wife of Rinicles, the girl wants to give it her all. Khloe is still not sure if she feels the same way that Ash feels about her, but she is grateful to him for everything he has done for her. And every day Rinicle becomes more and more special to Khloe. Solving the problems of her past is also important, but for a girl it is much more important to love Ash as much as he loves her. The man approached Khloe and kissed her. After the girl returned, she spent the rest of the day reading a book in bed. The doctor said she had a fever due to fatigue and stress. The feeling of betrayal she felt from people she trusted couldn't just go away. Her whole body ached, as if all those negative feelings that she had experienced due to her naivety, and to which she had become accustomed, were blades that wounded every inch of her body. Although these thoughts were eating her up from the inside, she was not alone. She was comforted by the warmth of the one holding her hand. Khloe desperately held onto the hand that saved her from the restless nightmare. The walls she had built in her heart to protect herself began to crumble little by little. Forbidden room. If Ash is so desperate to hide something from her, then he needs to respect his wishes. Everyone has their secrets. Khloe must trust her new husband. It would be wrong to consider him a bad person. If a person has made a mistake, this does not mean that he cannot change. As soon as she decided to trust him, it was like a miracle. But she felt better. A day later, Khloe's fever went away. When she felt better, the girl paid all her attention to the upcoming preparations. 4 days until the tea party. It was to take place at the Marquess's estate. A countless number of invitations arrived at the Vrinicloff estate every day. Someone with Ash's position could afford to accept or reject any of them. As soon as rumors about the Marquess's marriage spread, even more invitations began to arrive. Khloe chose the most beautiful invitation. It was not some large-scale tea party like in the palace, but it was the first event that the girl would attend as a marchioness. If she could handle it, she felt like she could handle any other invitation she received in the future. The dress and shoes had already been purchased. Men do not attend such events. Tea parties are for ladies only. This was a challenge she had to face alone. Ash asked Khloe how she was feeling. She replied that the fever had passed and her condition had stabilized, all thanks to him. After a few minutes of awkward silence, the girl admitted that she wanted to share her bed with Ash. The man was shocked. Khloe used to feel grateful, suspicion late. But the more he showed his love for her, the more the girl began to trust Ash. She felt sincerity in his actions and words, but he could be different. Vrinicle asked if Khloe was sure of her decision, since she had just recovered. Maybe it would be better to discuss this when the girl is fully recovered. The Marquise replied that she was already feeling better, and that the couple should spend tomorrow night together. Ash said there was no need for her to force herself. She replied that she was not forcing herself. She wanted to do it. At the tea party, Khloe wants to appear as the wife of the Marquess in every sense of the word. Ash didn't think his wife was so cute. The man knew that it was not easy for the Marquise to say all this, and he thanked her for the fact that the girl had the courage. Ash was worried that if he started talking about it first, she would feel pressured. But if he had decided to have this conversation first, the Marquise might have had to step over herself to say it. Vrinicle told Khloe to come to his bedroom tomorrow night. He will tell Alicia to get everything ready. The man could no longer help but wait for tomorrow. Ash couldn't believe the girl was the first to bring it up. He was only going to start talking about it after Khloe got settled. But the man could not even imagine that she would say so directly about it. Well, that's how she was before. Khloe was never one to beat around the bush. She does everything quickly but carefully. But Ash still believed that this should wait. He wants Khloe to love him more, but she said she wants to share his bed with him first. Why couldn't the Marquess just stop smiling? Even if it was as a thank you, or if she decided to do this out of a sense of duty, the Marquis is still glad that they can truly become husband and wife. The next evening, after taking a bath, the girl arrived at Vrinicle's chambers. She was worried that she would upset Ash, that he would be disappointed in her. No, the man is not like Joseph. Everything will be fine because it's Ash. Marquess cupped Khloe's face and told her that he hadn't done anything yet, and that she shouldn't worry. If she's too nervous, they can have a glass of wine. Ash asked the girl to come closer, and said that if she didn't want to do this, then she could calmly tell him so. Khloe replied that that was not the case. After all, she was the one who initiated it. Vrinicles began to kiss the girl. If she freezes, then... A wave of fear enveloped the poor fellow. Bad memories haunt her. No, Ash is different. She knew he was different. She knows, but she doesn't want to die. The man tried to calm the girl down and gave her a bag so she could breathe into it. She only apologized profusely. Ash said that Marquise had nothing to apologize for, and that he would be with her until she felt better. For her, an intimate relationship was impossible, even with the person she loved. Khloe felt disgusting, and felt like she was going to throw up. And she was scared. Did she really think that it wasn't her fault? There is a secret she is hiding from Ash. Will he treat her the same if he finds out about everything? Will she survive her breakup with Ash? It's the best she's ever gotten. Khloe begins to sob and apologizes to Vrinicle, saying that she disappointed him. She was so scared that she started calling the man Milord again. Ash didn't force or blame her. The man asked permission to look at Khloe's face. He tried so hard to decorate the room. The girl couldn't believe that it was all in vain. If it were Joseph, even on his last legs, Khloe would still do what she wants without hesitating for a second. And it didn't matter whether she lost consciousness or not. He would have dropped everything and left, slamming the door. Marquise must accept the fact that Ash is not like Joseph. No, he's not just different. He's an order of magnitude better. This doesn't mean that Marquee never gets angry or doesn't experience emotions. He just tries to keep it all to himself when he thinks about how dear she is to him. If the girl tells Ash what happened that night, will she be able to get rid of the guilt that is eating her up from the inside? Will she be able to completely erase these memories of the past, stopping blaming herself for something that is not her fault? But what if Ash doesn't believe her? The man understood roughly what Khloe had gone through, but he didn't know all the details. Therefore, he cannot know exactly how she feels. But one thing he knew for sure was that this was definitely not her fault. Khloe doesn't have to force herself. Ash thanks her for all the kindness. She tried to do something she was afraid of because she was worried about him. The Marquis wants them both to have fun. If only he was pleased, then there would be no difference between Ash and the animal. So that's it. Joseph acted like an animal that cannot control its desires. This is not because of Rinicles, not because the girl doesn't love him. Quite the contrary, she wants to do this because she loves him. But Khloe was scared. She is afraid that after their intimacy, the Marquis will become like Joseph. The girl thought that Ash would be cruel to her, just like him, but he will never do that. The Marquess's heart began to ache, and it wasn't because Khloe didn't trust him, but because he felt sorry for the girl when he saw how deep her wounds were. The guy suggested that today he just sleep and forget for a while about the fears of his new wife, and just remember that she is the most important person in the world, or think about the desserts they will eat tomorrow. Just imagine how tasty and sweet they will be. Ash said he could drag that bastard here and Khloe would do whatever she wanted to him. The Marquise said that she did not want to see him even for the sake of revenge. She just wants to continue living as if he never existed. At least if Joseph has any sense, he won't be looking for a girl. This does not mean that Khloe has forgiven her ex-husband. She just doesn't want to waste her time on someone who will never ask for forgiveness. She wants to look to the future and not dwell on the past. Thanks to Ash, Marquise even has dreams for the future. They didn't become one that night like a married couple, and she doesn't know when they will or whether they will at all. But she knows for sure that Marquise will never put pressure on her and will wait for Khloe. The day of tea has arrived. Khloe was supposed to attend the Countess of Newborn's tea party. Her social position, like the guest list, was appropriate. The Countess was known for having good relations with all the ladies of high society. This was a good chance for her first appearance in high society as a Marchioness. The reason why Khloe chose a ladies-only event was so she could make a good impression on the ladies before attending an event that was meant for everyone. If Ash were there, they would pretend to be white and fluffy just because his title is higher. It will be easier to find out from the real ones if there are only women here. Khloe was worried. I was worried not only about the tea party but also about last night. After it, the girl felt so ashamed that she couldn't even look into Esha's eyes, let alone attend the wedding ceremony. Is the Marquise worthy of such happiness? She is happy, but at the same time worried. But now she must concentrate on the upcoming tea party. Bessie said that even a modest dress looked wonderful on Khloe. The girl could not miss the opportunity to return back to normal life. Even a modest dress looks great on her. She can't miss this opportunity to get back to real life. The estate of the Countess of Nyborn was famous for its beautiful gardens. The Countess had 2 children, 8 and 6 years old. She wasn't extraordinary in any sense of the word, but her aura calmed everyone around her. The Countess of Newborn thanked the Marchioness of Brinicle for keeping them company today. She said that she was as beautiful as they said she was. It was a great honor for Nyborn to meet Marquise Brinicle. Khloe thanked her for the invitation and said that she was glad to have the opportunity to enjoy such a wonderful tea party. Why don't they go to the others? Their looks. Khloe is much more nervous than she expected, but she can't show it to them. If she makes a mistake under unforeseen circumstances, it won't end with just a bad mood. The name and honor of the Brinicle family is at stake. A woman approached Khloe saying that she came here because she heard that there would be someone who did not live up to his position. And looking at her with a malicious look, She said that apparently this was Khloe. The woman remembered almost all the members of the imperial and noble families. She studied the biography so often that almost all the pages were erased. She remembers reading a description that described her exactly. Khloe was honored to meet her. The Honorable Empress Caroline Elisa Radagaya, widow of the previous emperor. Khloe introduced herself, but the rude woman only told her that she had not given permission to speak. She immediately began to apologize, saying that she was simply excited by the Empress's presence. The Empress had heard so many rumors that she simply had to see everything in person. Now it is clear to her that she simply wasted her time. She believes that Khloe is an ordinary commoner. They were interrupted by the Countess of Newborn, saying that she was truly honored that Her Majesty would attend her insignificant tea party. If she allows, she wants to take her to her place. The Empress replied that there is no need for this. Countess Newborn, her standards have dropped since their last meeting, to invite such a commoner. The widowed Empress is definitely someone to be reckoned with, but also Countess Nyborn cannot afford to fall out of favor with the Marquess Brinicles. In such a situation, it is important to remain neutral. The Empress said that she had ruined her mood and ordered a carriage to be prepared for her. There was no point in her staying at a tea party with such low-grade guests. Khloe thought that everything had not turned out as bad as she had expected. She neither insulted her nor beat her. She ignored her very existence, but at least spoke to her. The fact that she came without an invitation, she says that she was interested. It doesn't matter whether the interest is positive or negative. The fact is that it exists. Of course, this means that she will make the rest of her days in high society much worse simply because of her desire. Khloe knew that at the tea party there would be someone opposed to her, but she could not even imagine that it would be someone from the imperial family. Even if she is a marquise, it is normal to stay away from the person who was just criticized by the former empress. Khloe said she didn't mean it, but she doesn't think she can do anything about it. Considering this is Khloe's first tea party, she must be nervous. Countess Elowena Hatweed. Khloe is glad that at least she spoke to her. Elowena asked if Khloe would mind her joining her, and Khloe, of course, did not deny. She knows it might not be easy for her to hear such harsh words, but she handled herself well. All thanks to their lessons, it should be natural for her. She knows she looks confident, but she remembers how she couldn't close her eyes, the night before her first debut as a countess. The countess told Khloe that she was coping, and in response, Khloe thought that she never thought that this would be a member of the imperial family. Perhaps they have more in common than she thought. There is a specific reason why the venerable empress decided to attend the tea party. She asked Khloe if she wanted to know this reason. Khloe replied that of course if she doesn't mind sharing with her. There's nothing special about it, she'll just leave it up to Khloe. The honorable empress may be hostile towards Khloe due to her personal experiences. Khloe asked what the countess meant, and she replied that in addition to the current Emperor Rudolph, she has 2 more daughters. Her youngest daughter Olivia cut off all ties with the imperial family and left the capital to be with a commoner with whom she fell in love. Her family begged her to stay, but she renounced her title to marry him and become a commoner herself. Marriage against the will of the family. It must be very difficult for Her Majesty to even just see her daughter. She may feel that her daughter has discredited the honor of the imperial family, or she may be even angrier out of love for her daughter. Either way, Khloe now knows that she only came all this way to humiliate her. The Countess continued her story by saying that shortly after this, Olivia died far away from here, and her husband, who tried to escape after death, was also caught. Nobody knows why he decided to run away. It doesn't look like he was a murderer. Nevertheless, this case was closed. If she were alive, she would be about the Countess's age, so this happened quite a long time ago. After this, the venerable empress was always against marriages between different social strata. Those who don't know Khloe may be wary of her, but sooner or later someone will become friendlier once they get to know Khloe better. There is no one in this world who is loved by everyone, so don't pay attention to those who don't like it. According to what she studied, Countess Hatweed was neutral in her alliances. In the Brinicles family, everything was the same, but it cannot be said that they remained absolutely neutral. They preferred to lean towards those who were more useful at certain moments. But here she was the first to lend a helping hand, while the others tried to avoid Khloe. Khloe would say she gained something incredibly valuable today. She was stunned by Countess Hatweed's kindness today. They say today at the tea party the venerable empress put on an interesting spectacle. Ash is sure that she spoke calmly, but her words were like daggers. The venerable empress is known for her prejudices. He is sure that she does not allow even the slightest possibility that the same Ash Brinicle could fall in love. She most likely believes that he bought her for some ulterior motive, or that Khloe is using him to climb the social ladder. She can't bring herself not to look for ulterior motives, otherwise she will begin to blame herself for her daughter's death. Without realizing it, she showed her anger to escape her growing feelings of guilt. She's just a tired old woman. He wondered if Khloe was okay. Given how caring and kind-hearted she is, he's afraid she'll just keep it all to herself. He asked to stop the carriage, saying that it looked like a dirty rodent had slipped past the guards. He needs to keep his eyes open at all times, otherwise he would have died long ago. Did he think that because the area was so large he wouldn't be caught? How naive. Ash hit the stranger in the back with all his might, and when he fell, he began to ask Ash who he was. Ash replied that he could not understand why he was hiding in his garden, given that their deal was concluded long ago. The Marquess thinks that he does not know that a century ago, trespassing into the territory of the nobles was punishable by death. The man laughed that he was just worried that he had sold him too plain of a girl. Ash got angry, telling him to stop talking. He forced him to tell him that he was sniffing around like a rat after he was paid a decent amount. The man wondered what was wrong with him. He thought this was another sissy lord. Camilla found out what noble family Khloe ended up in, although it took longer due to the fact that aristocrats were involved in this matter. However, it was not so difficult, because their wedding is now on everyone's lips. Although the rumors were very different from what actually happened, no one said a word about the fact that he bought his wife at auction. On the contrary, they said that he fell in love with a commoner who was in trouble. And now he is courting her and even received permission from the emperor to marry her. Even among the highest echelon nobles, this caused quite a stir. But what happens if they find out that he bought it? Marquee Brinicle clearly did not want the world to know about his little secret. And Khloe, of course, too. He will definitely pay the man for his silence. It's easy money. He was waiting for the opportunity to threaten Khloe with this, since she was easier to manipulate. It would have scared her so much that she would have immediately rushed for the money. But why did he have to stumble upon it? Coming out of his thoughts, he told Ash that he just wanted to know how his ex-wife was doing. It's difficult for him to even just talk when Ash looks at him like that. Ash said he didn't remember telling such scum about who he was, but considering that he somehow managed to sneak into his garden, he must have been able to find out about it. Is this the work of his mistress? The man grimaced as he wondered how he knew. Ash said his money must have just run out, and he said that it would be better for him to disappear from there. And even if he doesn't even think about seeing Khloe, he said that my lord really seemed to love her, but she was not as perfect as he thought. He asked if he knew how many men she seduced with her appearance. Once she deceived him with her innocent face. Oh, how she flirted and sucked up then. But in reality, it is no better than a log. She doesn't react to anything. She doesn't even know how to satisfy a man. One day she went to a neighbor to borrow a needle, but he knows that it was just an excuse. He thinks she wanted to meet her husband. What he meant was that he managed to get all those bad habits out of her, but he's worried about Ash. That's why he's here. He's just worried that such an outstanding person fell into her trap. If you don't watch her, she will behave like a corrupt girl. Ash said he understood what he meant, but why should he care? He loves her. The man became enraged, thinking that everything should be different. For now, his beloved wife doesn't want anything to happen to him. Therefore, if he kills him now, he may deprive her of the opportunity to personally get even with him. And then for the rest of her days, she will be tormented by the memories of what he did to her. So it would be better for him to get out of his garden if his life is valuable to him. When he kicked him, he caught him off guard. But now that he sees him, maybe he can win the fight. There's no one else around either. The man is confident that he can defeat the Marquee, since he often had to fight in all sorts of alleys. Even a handsome aristocrat will become more modest after a good thrashing. The man exclaimed to Ash that he forgot to tell him that his motto was an eye for an eye. But in response to this, Ash grabbed his hand with all his strength and the man screamed loudly. Khloe can tell Ash anything if she wants, he will always be on her side. If you think about it, he always asks to tell how she is doing, but never tells how he is doing. Ash then decided to allow Khloe to ask him questions if she was interested. She asked about what his parents were like. Khloe wants to know more about them because they gave her their loving son. Khloe had heard that they died of illness when he was a child, but she would certainly like to meet them. His parents were great people. My father was a kind man, one of those who is extremely honest in everything. And my mother always, with an unbreakable smile, said what she really thought. He was their only child, so one can only imagine how much love he received. But there was someone else. Although from the outside it seemed that pure love reigned, he could not say that their relationship was clear-cut. Ash must have been very sad when he lost them, just like Khloe was when she lost her parents. His parents died unexpectedly. Even before it was possible to find out the cause of their death, pretending that he cared, one person became close to him. As far as Ash knew, he was somehow involved in everything that was happening. The bodies of the parents were quickly buried, suspecting that they died from some kind of infection. There was no time to investigate other causes of death. By the time he realized what their cruel plan was, it was already too late. He escaped, vowing to take revenge on them one day. Then he met her. She will never know that she became a ray of light in his life full of despair. He asked Khloe if he could tell her a secret. She of course agreed, and Ash announced that this was not a very pleasant story. According to the official version, his parents died from an infection, but in fact they were poisoned by someone they trusted the most. They had always enjoyed good health, so when they suddenly fell ill and died a few days later, everyone in the estate thought that it was due to a dangerous infection. Because there was no other explanation for their sudden and simultaneous death, they were poisoned by someone lower in status than them. When he learned the truth, he became numb. He was so shocked that his ears were ringing, but he could not do anything because the conspirators were much more powerful than him. All he could do was run away and hope that one day, when the time came, he could avenge their deaths. He was too small to do anything, so he ran away, so he understood Khloe when she felt helpless because she couldn't do anything. When he returned, he was able to make that man pay for what he had done all these years, although it took a lot longer than he expected, and so he came to the point that he found Khloe. She always thought there was something behind his smile, something much worse than she could have imagined. But Ash was able to cope with everything alone, while Khloe was able to do this only thanks to love and care. How hard was it for him? To her, Ash is truly amazing. Khloe asked him if the forbidden room was his parents' bedroom. He replied that no, and now he is using their wedding as his own. In that room contains memories of those days when he was truly happy. He's just embarrassed to show it to anyone. Ash asked if Khloe wanted to enter her. She said she was curious, but if he doesn't want it, then it's okay. Ash said that his Khloe is too charming. The girl was surprised because she had never heard these words before. Khloe thinks that Ash is much more adorable than her, like a puppy, but his hackneyed phrases are not so bad. She thanked him for coping with all the difficulties. She is happy to be with him. Khloe asked who killed Ash's parents. He always knew that one day he would tell her about this, but he didn't think that this moment would come soon enough. It was his uncle. He was his father's half-brother, and after his parent was poisoned, he inherited the title of Marquee. He was smart, but as soon as a person like him tries to do something treacherous, he is even capable of betrayal. With the help of his love for Khloe, Ash was able to cope with everything and regained his rightful title of Marquess. Everyone who was to blame for the death of his father suffered a well-deserved punishment. The way Ash smiles when she talks about such a sad and painful time, it's similar to how Khloe hid behind the curtain of her indifference to the world. It seems that not many people know about such a shocking story. The battle for the right to become the head of an illustrious, noble family, between the young but full-fledged heir and his experienced relative, who had been cunning for years to achieve his position. There is nothing more poised to become the scandal of the century. A story like this would certainly have spread throughout the empire. No one knows about this except a few members of the imperial family. Even if someone knew, they wouldn't dare talk about it publicly. They didn't dare because they were afraid of Ash's wrath. The moment they dared to open their mouths, he would not only come for them, he would make sure that everyone who spread false rumors disappeared. Ash's parents predeceased his parents. Even though he was a little older than Khloe, he was still a child. The situation was so dire that he had to flee, but he was able to change everything. This alone is enough to show his incredible fortitude. At that time, Khloe, except for sending Doria to jail, she did nothing to take revenge on her offenders. Not that she believed in forgiveness for any action. She just wanted to use all her strength to move on. and not get stuck in the swamp of the past. She asked Ash if he thought it was stupid that she didn't fight against those who betrayed her. He replied that everyone makes different choices, and her decision not to take revenge was not wrong. Although he would punish them using any possible methods, he cannot say that she should have done the same because they are different. And doesn't he constantly remind her of this? He will always respect her choice, and he will always be on her side. Khloe wondered if there was anyone in her life other than her parents who cared so much about her. Unlike the last tea party, Lady Neela's charity evening takes place inside the large hall. Because there were those who came to donate money and those who came to buy. There were a lot of people there from different walks of life, from nobility to wealthy peasants. Khloe attended such evenings with her parents when she was a child. Parents often attended such events, because it was a good way to make new acquaintances in the industry. Khloe was addressed as my lady, and told that there were a lot of people there. Unlike the ladies who refused to approach Khloe out of fear of the venerable empress, there were those who decided to simply say hello, because there were really a lot of people. The reasons for their interest varied. Some were curious, others just wanted to exploit her connection with Ash. There were even those who envied her or were hostile. But occasionally, there were those who were really interested in getting to know her. A commoner girl becomes a marchioness, like the main character of a romance novel. She knew very well that her very existence was a separate reason for conversation. Khloe heard a painfully familiar voice. Someone from a distance greeted her. It was Grace Raymond who dispelled her guesses and called Khloe my lady. Marquise Khloe greeted her back. Grace Randall, Stephen Randall. The couple who lived next door often visited Khloe's parents. Her father worked in trade, started with a small store, and developed in this business himself. Mother was from a distant foreign country. She had no one here. When they moved to the outskirts of the capital, there were no friends left at all. Therefore, they had good relations with their neighbors. And when her parents were killed, Randall's family was the only one she could turn to. It was they who reported that her father's business was on the verge of bankruptcy, and it was they who found her a job in an orphanage. Perhaps they also did not know that the manager would be like this. They provided a job so far from the capital, they didn't look for her after. Whatever it was, she was nothing to them, so she didn't hope for more. So I didn't ask about them anymore and didn't poke my nose into other people's affairs. Because it was painful to admit, those who took care of her after the death of her parents only used her. But unfortunately, they met again. Once this happens, she is not going to back down. She received wounds that were so great that she no longer wants to turn a blind eye to it. Khloe asked how long it had been since they had seen each other, about 10 years. For the first time since she sent her to work in an orphanage. Her equanimity, does she have enough experience or is there no reason to worry? Thinks that despite her title, she is awkward around people. Khloe seems to be doing well and asked if she received the title. Mrs. Randall was an ordinary middle-class woman, but her clothes and accessories are now much better than before. She said that she met a dying baron who had no descendants, and he passed on his title to them. So she changed her last name to Mrs. Raymond. Such a touching story. Previously, she could have believed it. Randall couldn't afford to buy even the lowest titles. Although Khloe was a commoner, she lived a rich life. Her father's business flourished. But then these people told her about the debts. She was heartbroken and didn't listen to anyone but them. What happened to Khloe was like a hurricane. She was in a hurry to get away from it all, so unfortunately, there was no time to check what belonged to her. She was so depressed that she didn't even think to look into her father's or lawyer's office to check all the assets. If her parents hadn't gone bankrupt and the Randall family could have taken her father's fortune, that would have been enough to buy the title. She was a commoner, but was still able to receive a basic education thanks to her parents' wealth. She understands everything because she went through it. Don't neglect personal boundaries. This was her experience. Mrs. Raymond told Khloe that when she went to the orphanage, the people her parents worked with panicked that the deal had fallen through. They made a new deal with them, but Mrs. Raymond still feels she is indebted to her. They were confused. They took on a case that they had not encountered before, so they could not find her. They only heard that she left the orphanage for another place. Mrs. Raymond is glad to see that she grew up and became such a beauty. She married the Marquee. Nothing else survived, but they bought the office where her father had previously worked. She's glad she was able to meet Khloe and give it back. When she was poor, she developed a habit of carrying a set of keys with her, but thanks to her, she can give Khloe this key now. This is the key to the place where her father worked. She asked Khloe if she remembered where it was. Khloe replied that she remembered. When Khloe's parents died, she cried a lot and was afraid to be alone, so Mrs. Randall often stayed with her at night. She carried this key for years to give away. You might think that all her actions were merciful. Has everything she's been through made her so sensitive? Mrs. Raymond said that Khloe could come whenever she wanted. All the documents were left in the office. Khloe said she was uncomfortable and offered to pay Mrs. Raymond a fair price. It's dangerous to suddenly accept her kindness like that. In the past, she would have gotten emotional and cried, but now everything is different. Mrs. Raymond said it wasn't worth it because her parents were so kind to them. Plus, it originally belonged to Khloe. Khloe said she would accept the key then. It may have taken a long time, but she is glad that this item was returned to its owner. When she transfers the office to her, she will send Khloe documents. They needed to manage everything, so they initially registered the office in their name, but they prepared everything to bring Khloe back at any moment. Mrs. Raymond had other appointments, so she said she had to go. She is glad that they were able to meet by chance. She hopes that they will have such a chance again. Today she came there without her husband. Next time she would like to come together. Khloe also hopes for this. Is it true? So much time has passed. The key, although old, is clean. It was as if time had passed only for her. They really deceived her and stole her inheritance. She would not have approached her first and handed her the key to the office. Maybe because there were so many difficulties in her life, doubting everything became a habit. Her parents must have had a big deal. Khloe said that was true. They started in the provinces, then the scale increased and they moved to the capital. The Raymond couple are known as entrepreneurs. It seems they started their business 10 years ago. We found good business partners and with their help gradually developed. They say their business is booming now. Yes, as she heard, they started it with a deal with her parents' former colleagues. But Mom and Dad's business failed after death, so she can't say for sure that the Raymond family took advantage of it. If her parents really went bankrupt due to poor investments, then she should be grateful to the Baron and his wife, because they merged her family's business with theirs so that her father's business partners would not suffer damage. After all the difficulties she has overcome, she does not want to believe that the Randall family did all this only because of their own self-interest. But in any case, her instinct tells her to be careful. First, you will need to visit the office. You will still have to see the Baron and his wife at least once more. She will need to obtain a certificate of transfer of ownership from them. Then she will decide how to treat them. Grace Raymond, the Baron's wife. No one can even imagine how much effort we had to put in to achieve this title. Of course, they started from a position far superior to others, but even if they knew nothing about business, the effort was not in vain. 10 years ago, they had nothing, but a chance arose which they immediately took advantage of. After that, they finally had a child, or rather they were twins. A daughter and a son were born at the same time, and the happiness of the newly made parents knew no bounds. But one day there was a meeting that became a great opportunity. The famous wife of the Marquess of Brinicle. The woman probably arrived later and missed how she was introduced. Now this is one of the most discussed people. The fact is that the Marquess of Brinicle fell in love with her, a commoner at first sight, and immediately married her. He even, despite the difficulties, received permission for the marriage from the emperor himself, so that no one could object to her new position. Is the wife of the Marquess of Brinicle really Khloe? The shelter where she worked is located far from the capital, but because of the affection that emerged, Grace found her a good place. However, she asked the director of the orphanage to find Khloe a job in order to keep her there as long as possible. She has a pretty face and was sure that she could get a pretty decent husband, but she can't believe it's the Marquee. And not just any Marquee, but specifically the Marquess of Brinicle, in whose family the blood of the emperor flows. An informant reported that the Empress Dowager suddenly appeared at a tea party attended by only high-ranking guests and humiliated a commoner. But the ruler, although she belongs to the imperial family, has long left the social world. And among those gathered there, the Marquess of Brinicle had the highest title. One could simply pretend that this is a stranger, but having become a baroness, Grace Raymond learned what fame and power are, which cannot be bought with money. She could no longer ignore the desire coming from her heart. You can use it to create close relationships that can be useful in the future. However, now that the Countess had children, she felt a slight remorse for what had happened earlier. She remembers her big eyes full of tears. Then Khloe did not doubt their words. She did not understand anything. Her husband took the lead, and she simply nodded her head. She regrets it a little, but if she could turn back time, she would still do the same. Either way, she doesn't know anything. When she had no money, she started carrying a key with her. But now it's a reminder that she shouldn't be reckless. Who knew that this key could be useful? After all, they say that sometimes you have to give up little to get something more. Now is just such a case. Khloe recognized her immediately. She was a little surprised to see the indifference on her face. But at the same time, she did not look like a cunning person. The smile may have disappeared from her face, but the feeling of innocence remained as before. It looks like there is an opportunity. That's for sure. When the husband comes, you will need to decide what to do next. Then they will be able to rise even higher. Once again, memories pierced Khloe's head. The more she looks at the teddy bear, the more he reminds her of the one he had in childhood. No, he's better. At that time, she wrote down her experiences in a personal diary and hid them in a teddy bear. And a girl with whom she was friends found these notes, read them, and left answers there. Today, Khloe met Miss Randall, who once helped her with her work. She and her husband are doing well. They received the title, and now she is Baroness Raymond. Seeing her, the girl again plunged into memories. Today, the lady was alone without her husband. Ash asked if Randall spoke first. Khloe asked why he thought that and why the girl couldn't turn to her first. Marquee said Khloe wanted to move on and put the past behind her, so he doesn't think she would talk to someone she doubted first. From this, Ash realized that most likely it was the mistress who approached the Marquise. In fact, the man knew that the Randall family had received the title of Baron, expanded their business, and moved to the capital. In the past, Khloe was a simpleton, but now she is a Marquise. Of course, the Baroness was interested in this. Was she wondering what hardships Khloe went through? Or maybe she was wondering how a commoner could get such a title. But what is clear is that they took the girl's inheritance, and specifically chose an orphanage away from the capital, hoping that Khloe would not be able to return. And even now they don't have enough, so they are trying to establish contact with her. And so the Baroness, without shame or conscience, approached the girl herself, thinking that she could fuck something. Just as Ash thought, people don't change. He is right. It was the lady who spoke first. At first, Khloe didn't recognize her, but then she apologized for not paying attention to her right away. The Baroness gave the girl the key to her parents' office, saying that she and her husband were able to buy it back after her father's business failed. He was originally Khloe. The lady said that she would later transfer the property documents to her. The Marquise no longer understands. Randall carried this key with her all this time so that she could later give it to the girl. Maybe it's from the heart. At first glance, it seems so. But Khloe hasn't fully decided for herself yet. Ash said that she is a very careful person and asked what the girl plans to do. She replied that she wanted to visit her father's office. The man asked if Khloe wanted to take Ash with her. Together. Is this what being spouses means? It's like a close friend relationship where both are excited and in love. You try to spend time together and always share everything. It seems that Khloe didn't even think about going with the Marquis. When will she start seeing him as support? When will he start considering Vrinnicles his friend? He is very hurt and sad. He doesn't think he'll be able to sleep tonight. Khloe said that Ash is very important and they will go together. The couple held hands and decided to go to the office. Warmth, the girl thought that she would never be able to feel it again. Ash lets her know how much love Khloe receives every day, a touch she couldn't even imagine. The girl couldn't help but burst into tears, but Vrinnicles said that it was okay and she shouldn't apologize for her tears. Cry when you want to cry, get angry when you want to be angry. She doesn't need to hide or suppress emotions. In fact, Khloe is having a hard time. What if everything she believed in turns out to be a lie? She is very happy right now, but even so, the girl cannot get rid of anxiety, and this depresses her even more. At first, everything is fine, and then everything collapses. This happened many times. When will she be able to get rid of this fear? Ash reassured his wife and said that she had already overcome this pain and began to move on. She is incredibly beautiful and brave, and he will be there to help her cope with anxiety and fear. In the end, the Marchioness fell asleep in the arms of her new husband with tears in her eyes. She didn't even realize when she fell asleep. All she remembers is the warmth of his body. Bessie came into the room with water in a bowl and a rag. The maid said that Khloe's eyes were very swollen, so she would prepare a cold compress. The girl was about to refuse, but remembering that Countess Hazewide was supposed to come to her after dinner, she agreed. In the morning, you can just go to the bath, but having learned that Khloe is afraid of water, Bessie came up with another way for her to wash herself. Often, the maid would bring into the room a small bath suitable for Khloe. Bessie noticed that the swelling wasn't as bad last time. Marquess really treats Khloe badly. She blew herself up and wanted to say that the maid understood everything wrong. Luckily, Marquis's voice is fine. Bessie said that if the girl was very tired, she could still sleep. If she has pain somewhere, she can give her a massage. No matter what Khloe said, it would sound strange in this situation. The girl said she misunderstood and she wasn't tired. On the contrary, the Marquis is very protective of his wife. The maid said that when Khloe first arrived at the estate, her body was very weak. She looks better now, but is still silent when she simply cannot ignore this anymore. The Marquis must also understand this. Countess Elaine Hazewide now has 2 sons, but she also had a daughter who died immediately after birth. The Countess cried a lot, holding in her arms the dead baby who was not even 6 months old. This was her first child, so it is impossible to even imagine what great grief she experienced. She married early and gave birth shortly after the wedding. The baby could now be the same age as the Marquise. From then on, whenever she saw a young girl of the same age, she could not look away. A lot of time passed, and everyone had long forgotten about it. But for the mother's heart, the child continued to live. Having asked Khloe how old she was, the Countess thought that the difference between her dead daughter was a year or 2. If she were alive, the girls would be the same age. Although it is believed that the first child always looks like her husband, her daughter had Elaine's face. The firstborn, a daughter, who also looks like her mother. Of course, my husband's parents didn't like this. Would the daughter now have the same facial expression as her mother? Because of her facial expression, the Countess often encountered misunderstandings. When her husband, Earl Hazewide, proposed to her, did he decide to get hit with an ice pick? Those around him mocked him. If her status were higher, they would most likely consider Elaine to be charismatic. But then she was the daughter of a poor baron. Only the love of her husband helped her overcome the cold from new relatives, ridicule, and blatant disregard for the capital's social district. However, from the wedding until pregnancy, there was a lot of stress. The Countess often cried. Therefore, when the first child was born weak, the girl did not leave the feeling of guilt for this. After a while, she was able to understand that she was not to blame for anything. That's why Hazewide put in a lot of effort, even if it was painful. On the outside, she continued to remain calm, but inside, tears of blood were constantly flowing.